Good morning.
Good morning. I'm at home making breakfast. So I'm going to stay on camera off for a little while.
Well, enjoy your breakfast.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Good morning. Does anybody want to play a little script off with me and get a book? We
I
have
a question for you.
yes.
I was looking into the do not call registry. I don't know if I was looking in the right one. It said it was about 1,100 for the year. Is that right?
Maybe in your area. I'm not
Maybe just
positive.
here. Oh, okay. But there's usually a subscription fee like that?
For the do not call list? No.
Yeah. No, okay. I must not be looking at the right one then.
Yeah, no. The do not, anybody could go on the do not call for free, and there is a registry. I'll find it as we're going along today. I'll make sure I get it and put it in the chat.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Of course. So good morning. Everybody who is on early has an opportunity who wants to play. I am giving this lovely book to the person who wants to do a little script off with me. Anybody interested?
I would be interested, Jen.
All right, Bill. You have a great script, and you know what? Why don't we use that script actually? It's a good time to practice it. So
Yeah.
I am someone in your sphere, and you are calling me to check in, right? You're gonna pull out that script?
I'm working on that, memorizing that script.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I'm just thinking I brought it upstairs with me yesterday, but I have to call it up again. So it'll just be 1 second, okay?
All right. Good morning, Linda. You're on mute.
Good morning. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
Good.
Good.
I went on a just a quick, two little quick wins for me. It's not a listing, but I went on a FSBO call Friday night, and I'm doing a CMA for them. They definitely need help.
That's great. Congratulations.
And I also ran my first Facebook ad, so
And how
that's
did that go?
I got a lead out of it. It just started last night at midnight, and I got one. So I'll be talking to her later today.
Oh, that's so great. Keep me posted on that, please.
Okay.
And who's your coworker behind you?
My co-broker?
Your coworker that's sitting behind you there.
Oh, one of my dogs. I have 2 dogs here. Here.
What are their names?
This is what they do. This is it. This beautiful couch I bought is basically their bed.
Of course it is. I got two
Banjo?
myself.
Banjo and Jazz, they're 14, they'll be 15.
Aw,
And they love the fact that I'm working at home more.
that's great. Did you
so
say
it's-
banjo and jazz?
Yes,
That's great. Love it.
they're,
Love
they're brother and sister, yeah.
Aw.
So they come, when I say I have to go to the office, they come in here and they take their places on the couch.
Nice, nice. Well, they're helping you out. All right, Bill, you ready for this?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right, give me a call.
Okay. Ring, ring.
Hello,
Hello. Is this Jen?
it is Jen. Hi, Bill. How's it going?
Hi, my name is Bill Wilkinson with the Kotler's Property Group, Keller Williams Realty.
Hey,
I
Bill.
hope you're staying healthy in these trying times, and I appreciate you taking my call.
Of course. Always take your call.
I'm calling because at one point in the past, you made an inquiry through Realtor.com for a property with us. Unfortunately, due to COVID situation, some of our agents had to step away from real estate for a period of time, and we're just calling to ensure we didn't drop the ball.
Oh, you know what? I am still looking for a property. I haven't found anything yet. I mean, as you know, there's like nothing out there in the market.
Okay, great. Great. Yes. Just curious about what has you thinking about moving.
What has me thinking about moving? Well, during COVID, I realized that my place is just too small, and I need some more space.
Okay, terrific. And this may be an obvious question, but what will getting a larger house with a larger yard mean to you?
Oh gosh, I would have more space to get work done in the house and to let my family be in separate parts of the house while I can get work done, and we could just all kind of breathe a little more. You know what I mean?
Oh, terrific. Yeah, that is truly something to look for. Absolutely. Are you ready? Are you already working with a realtor?
No. Since I really haven't found anything, and I called your team on from I guess Realtor.com. I don't know how that works.
Okay. What's your ideal time frame for finding a new place that has a more space for you?
Well, Bill, if you found me the right house and it came on the market, I'd be ready. There's nothing coming on, and nothing stays on.
Okay. Yeah, I know everything moves quick. And what areas or towns are you interested in?
All of the ones you work in.
Okay, so the Worcester,
Definitely.
Middlesex County line area.
Absolutely. Yep. Those sound
Yep.
great.
Okay. Okay. And can you tell me a little bit more about your ideal home? Number of bedrooms, lot size, yard, things?
Sure. Yep. So I'm going to break script, but just because it's just 1 minute before 9 o'clock. But
Okay.
I'd love to have some feedback from anybody that has been listening to the script. But my one thing, Bill, is to memorize that.
Yes, I know.
Because
I
you
know.
need to make it feel like your own and have a conversation. It needs to
Yep.
just be a conversation. And don't even think of it as a script.
Yeah.
Think of it as a conversation. Because I think we've talked about it other times. We have to be genuine and unique and authentic during our calls. And sometimes when we have a script and we really are just reading from a script, like if I were to do this session today and I were to sit here and say, review the agenda for 1 hour session with the group, what the sellers want. That is too scripted, right? So you have to kind of make sure that you make it your own and don't sound scripted, even though it is a script. Tim, I saw you jump on. What was your feedback?
I like what you said about making sure that it is natural. And I know everybody fights with this. Like, I don't like scripts to make me sound scripted. We always, Aaron and I will always talk about, listen, think about your favorite movie and understand logistically where that started. I always Caddyshack, which isn't really like a tearjerker. It's not like Bridges of Madison County. Although, like, if you think about your favorite movie, the one that would make you late for your own wake, Rocky 2, maybe, I don't know. Whatever it is, those people sat around a table and read a script before it became theirs, right? So before De Niro was like, you looking at me? You looking at me? Like he wasn't that character yet. He made it his own. So we have to memorize, internalize so we can exercise. And when it becomes a language of sales, you're not necessarily going to a script. You're going to be pulling pieces of meat off different bones and sort of Franken-scripting your own language. But then when it feels natural, they feel like they're being heard and cared for. To me, the true blessing of being well scripted and having these internalized is I can listen at a higher level. Because I'm not worried about what Bill's going to say next. Like, oh my God, I have to handle his next objection. What's he going to say? I'm freaking out. There's about 5 to 7 objections we're going to get over and over and over again. The only difference right now is the people and the properties change. So if I can listen at a higher level and the next time I'm shopping with Bill and we walk into the kitchen, I can go back to, hey, you said your in-laws love to cook. Here's that cook's kitchen with a pasta spout over the stove. All things I heard that they didn't think I was hearing because most realtors don't. Because most realtors are scrambling. So we just need to be better than that. This is the tool of our industry, right? If you're going to hit your achievement ceiling and break through it, we're probably looking for a tool, a system, or a relationship. And your relationship right now might be a coach, your system might be command, and your tool is always scripts. Like Gary's probably learning a new script today because he's probably going to be recruiting somebody from Mars. Who knows what he's up to? But he's learning a better way to do it. I guarantee it.
That's right. Yep. So Bill, just going back to you really quickly, you have won yourself a copy of the Profit First book. So make sure you send me your home address either in the chat here or email it to me and I'll get it out to you this week.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Congratulations. All right. So it's 9:02. We are back. We had yesterday off. Today we are on Elements 4, all about the seller appointment. So you guys ready for this one? I'm really excited because my business partner, who I have been in business with since 2012, Connor Dowd, he runs our top team in the Newport, Rhode Island Market Center, is actually teaching this one for you guys. He has been in the business since 1999. He's going to tell you a little bit about himself and his family and how he's been able to grow his team the way he has. Yet I will tell you, he is pretty much an expert on seller appointments. So he has been diving into the material and is excited to deliver it to you today. I am going to be co-hosting it with him, so I'll be chiming in along the way. And then we also have Aaron and Tim here as well to facilitate with us. So Connor, are you on?
I just got on. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. So I gave them just a little bit, like a little bit on who you are. Could you tell us a little bit on who you are before we get started today?
Sure.
Your volume is a little.
Can you not hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's just a little echoey, but it's fine.
All right. I've been selling here in Rhode Island for 21 years. Something's going on with my computer. Can you guys see me?
I can see you, yes.
Hang on. Hold on. Having computer problems here.
Dylan, it's
Yeah.
Erin.
Hi.
I turned off the waiting room. It's not letting me, and I'm having to admit people.
Yeah, so it's a new Zoom feature
Okay.
that we have to allow people. There has to be a waiting room or a password. So
Okay.
We definitely don't want a password.
No, definitely don't want to go there, Tim, right?
Okay, I'll just keep admitting people. I actually have an appointment this morning, so I have to jump. I'll be back later.
I will be on the entire session, Erin, so we got this.
Okay.
I gotta shut down. My computer is going crazy right now, so I didn't have to shut down and restart it.
Okay, we'll see you in a few minutes. All right, guys, so while Connor is shutting down, let me tell you a little bit about what we have in store for you today for our Ignite Elements. And Erin was kind enough to put all of the script book that we're going to be needing and the elements information in the chat. If you don't see it, we'll put it back in there. And it's also on the Facebook group page. So if you are not in our Ignite 2.0 for the New England region Facebook group, please get on that group. We have a ton of people on there. All of this information is there. So again, today is Elements 4 seller appointments. So let me tell you a little bit about myself since Connor is off getting his computer situated and he's going to tell you about himself shortly. I have been in real estate. You guys know my name is Jen Bovey. Obviously, I don't have to tell you that. I've been on every session so far, so hopefully you know me by now. I got into the real estate business in 2001, and I was 22 years old. And when I tell you I knew nothing about actual real estate. I knew nothing. I knew that I passed a test and that there were 43,560 square feet in an acre. That was about what I knew. That was the gist of it. And I'll tell you, from the class I took that I studied really hard on, I realized very quickly that most of that class applied almost zero to the actual world of real estate. Anybody else feel that way?
Very true.
All right. So when I actually realized that I needed to figure this out on my own, I was with another company. I didn't start with Keller Williams. I started with another company, and I had to figure this out on my own. And let me tell you something. It was a learning experience for me. And let me know if you guys could relate with this. Again, 22 years old. I didn't know what an architectural shingle was. I didn't know what parquet flooring was. I didn't know the difference between forced hot air and a steam system. Like, I didn't know any of that. But I realized that I needed to know it, and quickly, if I wanted to be successful in this business. So one of the things I did was I met with home inspectors regularly to tell me what was that roof, and what was that roof, and what was this flooring, and what is that flooring, and what kind of system is this? So I really dove into just learning the business by other people. I sat with mortgage companies, mortgage lenders, and I said, I heard something about FHA. What does that actually mean? Listen, I was that green, guys. I don't know if anybody's been there, but I was that green. I didn't know what a 203K was. And if you don't know what that is on this call, that's okay. Go sit with the lender. So I had to learn really quickly. And I also didn't know how to find business. I thought when I pulled up to my real estate office and the manager met me and he said, here's your desk, he was also going to hand me a buyer that was going to get in my car, and I was going to show them some properties, and they were going to buy one. You know, one of the three, like on House Hunters, right? That doesn't happen either. Does it happen for anybody on here?
It's usually the one without the furniture, right, Jen? Yeah.
Right.
I'm gonna chime in real quick. I'm pretty horrified that you're a Celtics fan and you had no idea what a parquet floor was. We'll talk about that later, though.
I was 22. Listen, I was 22, okay? I had a lot to learn. And I'll tell you something, I have a lot of scars, almost some real ones, that have given me some experience along the way. But anyway, so long story short, I ended up I was like that duck, right? The duck sitting on a pond where my feet underneath were like just going a mile a minute. And I was just failing forward the whole first year. Somehow, in some way, and you guys are going to ask me, I don't know. I got Rookie of the Year at Coldwell Banker. I don't know how. I still don't know. I had 2 signs up in my area, and everybody I would come in contact with would say, wow, you're really killing it at this real estate thing. I'm like, yes, I am. Yeah, I'm doing amazing. I had 2 signs, 2. They were just in really good locations that people drove by a lot and thought I was everywhere. So from there, I was able to just be that person where everybody would come and ask me questions. And I'm really not sure how that happened either. I think it's just in me. I love to help as much as I can. And Coldwell Banker actually had me go towards the management route at 25 years old. And I was lucky enough to then be recruited and work with another company where I managed and trained 7 offices in Rhode Island for Prudential Real Estate. And that was a great experience for me. I was able to really dive in and help some agents grow their businesses when I actually didn't even know what I was doing. I was still failing my way forward along the way, by the way. And then I opened Bovee Realty in 2010, which was an amazing experience. And I loved every second of it until I realized I hit a ceiling really fast, like really fast. It was like, there's only so much you could do. And for me and my personality, Tim knows me a little bit, right? Right, Tim? I need a little more stimulation. I need a little more things going on. I think I want to think bigger than what was in front of me. And I didn't know that at the time. Well, Keller Williams came along in 2012 and asked me to be team leader of the Newport, Rhode Island Market Center that Julie Costa started. She was the team leader there, and she did an amazing job with that market center. And they called me because I was Realtor of the Year in 2011. And they said, hey, we saw you and we thought you might be a good candidate for this team leader position. I'm like, I don't even know what team leader means. What is TL? What is OP? What is PC? What are all these things, right? So they approached me and I haven't looked back. And I will tell you, the opportunities I've been able to get in front of because of that one conversation I had with Julie Costa and Connor Dowd back in 2012 has opened up a ton of potential and opportunity and growth. I have grown so much that I have the ability to be able to coach others and help build their businesses, and that's why I'm here. So I would love to be a resource for you guys with my experience I have and still gaining, and help along the way today for the seller appointment. Now, I'm hoping Connor is back on and we could get him and his audio on, because that was a lot of fill time and that was a lot of me talking. So Connor, you on?
Good job, Jen. Good job. I don't even think I can do an intro as good as that, so I'm going to keep mine a little shorter. But Jen, thank you for that. Sorry for my technical difficulties. I thought I had my charger for my laptop here in my bag, and I don't. So I've got someone from my office running to go get it later. So hopefully we'll be good there too. But good morning. I'm Connor Dowd with Keller Williams Realty. I'm here in the Newport, Rhode Island Market Center. I've been selling here for 21 years. I got licensed in 1999. With my business partner, I opened up Keller Williams in 2006. We've gone to 3 offices. Currently the operating principal here. Most of my focus is in the trenches. I run a team, the Connor Dowd Realty Group. We've been I've had a team for about 6 years now. Before that, I was a single agent like many of you. Working with buyers and sellers. I decided to grow a team. I'm leveraged on the administrative side. We've got I've got a director of operations, I've got a full-time administrator, and I've got a virtual assistant, and then I've got 3 buyers agents in the field. I focus specifically on the listing side, and that's where my passion is. That's where I feel like I excel the most. And that's why I think Jen asked me to lead this today. So when you talk to people that focus on the listing side, there's a lot of different things that maybe got them to where they are. I will tell you right now, I do not know everything. I do not get every listing. However, I do feel like there's a lot of value, and I'll try to give you as much today to kind of help you, because I think working with sellers, I think, is difficult. And it's kind of an art, and you really have to be good at reading people, and you really have to be good at presenting. I think the relationship with sellers and buyers are totally different. And I think many of you can understand when it's time to go take out a buyer, that relationship can be very friendly. You know, they're excited to buy. Let's go out and take a look at things. And while you're representing them, it can be more of a fun relationship, where I think on the seller side, you have to sell yourself and explain to someone why should they choose you? Why should they work with you? And by the way, when a house doesn't sell, those can be some tough conversations as well. So we're going to get into a little bit of that today. Let's see. So today we're going to create and present a listing presentation to secure a listing. We're going to talk about that. We're going to examine methods of marketing and identify characteristics, pros and cons, and use specific cases. And we're going to create a piece of marketing material using designs in Command. So I think Jen's putting up the PowerPoint that I'm working off of today too. So, and Jen, I don't know how you work with questions. I can't see everybody, so you're going to probably monitor.
That's what I'm here. Tim, Erin, we're all here to help with that chat section. So you do your thing, and we'll chime in. Okay.
So today we're going to focus on growing your business and running your business. The make seller listing presentations and get listings. That's going to be the focus today. And what I think we're going to have a conversation about is what sellers want. We're going to have a conversation about what happens before the appointment. Where does some of these seller appointments come from? What is that? Are you doing a one-step or a two-step process? We'll talk a little bit about, some of you may know about that. Some are doing, a one-step where they're going in one time, and others are going in 2 times. We're going to talk about that. I'll tell you what I do. We're going to talk about the listing appointment itself. What does that look like? How does that sound? And answer any questions that you've got. So let's talk about how sellers find their agent. 39%, based on these stats from NAR from 2019, 39% were referred by a friend, neighbor, or relative. 27% were used by the previous agent. 5% personal contact by the agent. 4% internet website. 3% visited open house and met agent. And then 22% could be other. Interesting to see that the referral piece, that's where the largest part of my business comes from, is from, referring from a past client, neighbor, relative. And that's why I spend as much time as I can working my sphere of influence so that we can kind of continue that. And I think that's important. So I don't know, Jen, how does that read to you in terms of what you see out there?
Oh, for sure. You're talking about your database, right?
Yeah, just in general, in terms of the importance of the, past clients and where this business comes from.
Yeah. So I just listened to Gary Keller, and Gary Keller says, if you have not mastered your database, you have nothing else to master. So if you haven't really gone in and touched or spoken to every single person you have in your sphere of influence and the database that you have created, that's where the game is, and that's where the money is. Unfortunately, a lot of people miss that. They say, well, I'm not making any money, so I'm going to get out of real estate. I didn't make money in the first 90 days. I'm going to get out of real estate. Well, if they really just focused on that database, Connor, like that, what is in their phone, what's on Facebook, what they have in command, that's gold. That's where it is. And that's exactly where your business comes from. And I know that. And that's where mine came from as well.
I think there's a difference between, there are a lot of agents out there. There are a lot of secret agents out there. There are a lot of agents that have licenses, but people don't know about them. I mean, my goal is when someone says real estate in Rhode Island, I want them to say my name. I want to be one of the names in that conversation. And so when I sit down with new agents or agents that are thinking about getting into the business, what I tell them is it's, learning the business is one thing and it's hard. Getting the business is the hardest part. And one thing I focus on is how can I cut through all the noise? How can I make it so my name is more top of mind than others may be, so that when people think of real estate, they think of Connor Dowd. So at least I get what we call an at-bat, which is an opportunity to go in and pitch for a listing in this case. And listings right now are the king, right? I mean, I know some of you buyer's agents out there, you look like a wet cat that went through a dryer when you're dealing with multiple offers and running your buyers all ragged, where when you have the listing, you're at least guaranteeing yourself at least half of that transaction. So listings are key. They're always key. In a buyer's market, obviously listings are, harder to sell, but in a seller's market, that's the key. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but that is the focus in terms of how can I promote my name, promote my brand, and have as many people think about me as possible when it comes to real estate. And I come from, it's really about self-promotion. I know some people maybe aren't comfortable with it. I come from the car business. My family was in the car business in Cleveland. And if you know the car business, you got the name frames on the back, and we didn't really have TV commercials, but it was all, promotion about Dowd, Oldsmobile, and Mercedes and Toyota. So I kind of like that. I enjoy that. And while we're not selling cars here, I'm selling myself. And that's one of the things I really enjoy about real estate is the ability to self-promote yourself. And that's key, so that when people say, oh, who are you listing with? Oh, yeah, I'm listing with Connor Dowd. Oh, yeah, no, I've heard of him, or, my friends used him or whatever. So I think it's important. What sellers want? Interesting. Let's see, 20%, actually 21% to help the seller market the home. 20% to help sell the home in a specific time frame, 19% help price the home competitively, 16% help fix up the home and sell for more, and then you've got 13% help find a buyer, and then you've got other. I think while it's different in a seller's market, sometimes you can stick a sign in the front yard and it sells. Sometimes it sells before market, but sellers, a lot of sellers, they don't know what they're doing. I've heard a number of situations in the last 3 months where off-market properties have sold, and they actually sold for what I consider to be less than what they could have gotten on the market, but they think because they're not paying a commission, they're saving money. And we all know, what that looks like. A lot of.
Can I just go back to this previous one if I can?
Yeah.
When we're talking about how sellers found their agents, there's a stat in here that I just wanted to articulate and tell everybody, because it's pretty interesting that 75% of sellers only contacted one agent before selecting one. What does that mean to you guys? What do you hear from that? I'd love to hear from the group. It says 75% of sellers only contact one agent before selecting one. Get there first, Michael says.
First come, first serve.
What'd you say, Paul?
First come, first serve, sounds like.
That's what it is, right? So it's a lot easier than we may think. And Linda, I'm going to pick on you for a minute because it was a great story you shared with me before we got started. She went on a for sale by owner appointment. Guess who has the first ability to list that property? She has a 75% chance of getting that listing. I think that's an amazing stat to know when you guys are calling for sale by owner and expired listing.
Jen, the other interesting stat that came up with Josh Team when he during Mega Camp talking to the gentleman from Google, 54% of our consumers are looking for another option.
Huge.
So
that was huge. I actually have that in my notes too, Tim.
Digital brand loyalty is almost out the window. Everybody's interested, right? So.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, I needed to throw that in.
I also think the key is that a lot of sellers don't necessarily set out to interview multiple people, but if you can be the first one in, if you do a really strong presentation and have a good relationship with them, in many cases they feel comfortable and they don't want to meet with anybody else. I hear that from time to time. We were going to meet with other people. We feel really comfortable with you. And we're not going to meet with anybody else. And that's what you want to hear. So when you're first in, now, sometimes you like to be, I've played the game when you know there are 3 people going in and you're one of 3. Do you want to be first or last? I've been on both sides of that. You want to be first in many cases because if you do a great job, if you can convince them, maybe they won't go on those, maybe they won't have that second and third appointment, so you can lock it up, right? So there's that piece. I've been on the back end because I want to make sure that they've already met with all these other people so that I can really close them and I don't get that. So it really kind of depends on how you want to approach things. I've said by waiting, sometimes if you've got someone who's in a hurry, if they get to the first person or second person and feel comfortable with them, if they're in a hurry, they may just pull the trigger on them. I get the phone call, hey, I know you were going to be the last one in, or third, or we had a meeting next week, but we had to make a decision. We had to get going. So keep that in mind too. Anything else on that, Jen?
No, I think that's good. I think we'll move on to the process.
All right, the process to a listing. Pre-listing questionnaire, schedule the listing appointment, send a pre-listing packet, and create a listing presentation, and then a home walkthrough and listing appointment. Now, this may look a little different to different people as it relates to what they do and what works for them. Ultimately, you have to make a decision about what works for you. So I will tell you what works for me. You can take it for what it is and then make decisions about what you want to do moving forward. One thing I'm not great at is a pre-listing questionnaire, and I don't know if you have any in the packet, but it essentially asks all the questions that you possibly could ask, so you kind of know as an agent, what am I walking into? What do they owe? What's their motivation? Where are they going? Pros and cons to the house. What do they love about the house? Improvements. What their time frame is. some of the questions, are they meeting with other agents? When are they looking to make a decision? Like all those questions go in that pre-listing questionnaire so that you can make a decision in some cases whether or not you even want to go on that appointment. And a lot of that is taken when either that call comes in or, you know, whenever you get that opportunity. And you schedule the appointment.
I'm going to answer Jade's question on here. She says, is there a copy of the standard listing questionnaire? And yes, there is. It's in our toolkit, and I believe Erin already dropped it into the chat section here. If not, we will re-drop it in, and you could also go on our Facebook group and get it in the units there. So we will make sure you have that. Go ahead.
So then you schedule the listing appointment. Kind of a tip on that, find out what their motivation is. Find out how motivated they are as it relates to when they're looking to make a decision. Because if you get someone who says, well, I'm thinking about listing, I'm not really sure, then that's one thing. I'm not saying you need to take a week or two to set that up. Conversely, if you've got someone that says, I just found out my husband or wife's having a job transfer and we've got to be, we're starting to go look at houses down in Dallas, and that to me is, okay, I need to like almost drop everything to get over there because I want to try to lock this up now. I've had situations where I thought I had a little bit more time and then all of a sudden they called me and they were like, yeah, well, we went with another agent because we really had to make a decision. So understand roughly what their time frame is and try to get that appointment set. The pre-listing packet, this is something we go back and forth with different agents. That pre-listing packet, to me, I don't send one ahead of time. I do a two-step process. This presentation right here, example, is set up as a one-step. That pre-listing packet is essentially all of the stuff in terms of fluff. Information about you, the company, how many homes you sell, how great you are, what you're going to do to market the property. A lot of that kind of, like I call it, stuff that goes into the presentation that essentially you send ahead of time to hopefully have them read. You can't guarantee they're going to read it, but you ask them to, which kind of preps them for who you are, your reputation, your experience, how you're going to market the home, all that kind of stuff. And you typically send that ahead of time. So if you set the appointment today, you may hand deliver it. I know agents that actually hand deliver it, and it's something really classy and nice, and you hand deliver it, which is great, or leave it outside their door, or you may send it in the mail. So,
Connor, can I back us up just a minute? I have a question in here, and I want to address it because it is important, and we've all been here. Do you remember your first listing appointment, Connor?
Yeah, I think I went on with my broker because I had no idea what I was doing.
And what happened? Tell us what happened.
I followed his lead, I will tell you.
Yep.
And we just walked through the house, and I remember him asking questions to the potential seller. I don't think we quoted him a number at that point, but I think what we were doing was establishing rapport and establish a relationship.
So same kind of similar thing happened with my first appointment. Somebody asked to talk about the first appointment jitters and what it looks like. And we have all been there. I saw Tim laughing as I asked Connor that question. We've all been at that first appointment where we have absolutely no idea what we're doing. And most of the time we bring somebody along with us. And that's the great thing about Keller Williams. We have so many layers of support for you. You probably have a mentor and a productivity coach and a broker and a team leader and an operating principal. You have a ton of resources. Go attach yourself with those resources and bring them along. When I went on my first appointment, I'm going to ask Tim about his. When I went on my first listing appointment at 22 years old, it was in Exeter, Rhode Island. And Exeter is a very rural area of Rhode Island. And this gentleman actually walked into the office. That does not happen, by the way. But he walked into the office and said he needed to list his house. And I was like, I'm there. I went to the house not knowing anything. And I asked my mentor to come along with me. It was 7 o'clock at night for the listing appointment. Again, I knew nothing about nothing. I didn't pre-qualify. I didn't ask questions. The guy didn't want to list his house. He was just looking to, I don't know, find the fluff of an appointment or of a new agent on the market. I really don't know. But the thing is that the whole key of this is talk to your mentors and your productivity coaches, because they're here to help you. Everybody has those first appointment jitters and stories, and they don't know how to fill out paperwork. Well, we do, and we can help you. So Tim, what did you want to add to that?
So I was lucky enough to go with Nathan W. Dickey, which was interesting. We're getting out of the car. And we're walking in, and he's like, "You're going to have a ton of questions. I need you to come in, sit down, and shut up. And we'll talk when we're done," because I'm Chatosaurus Rex. He's a high D. Like, Nathan wants to be done in 4 minutes, and I want to talk about like everything. So I did my best to sit on my tongue and my hands and waited till it was over, and just listening. And I guess, then from there I would go with Jen Vashon, who's now our managing broker. We were teammates. And then we would go, and Jen would sit on her hands and let me do the talking. And it's understanding, if you're in a big footprint, and I know you guys down in Rhode Island have offices everywhere. If your market center has a big footprint, like ours does up here in New Hampshire and Southern Maine, you have to go into every conversation just knowing that there's somebody at the market center who probably is the mayor of that town or that neighborhood. And if you have an opportunity there, most people would be very happy to go and help co-list that property with you. So just know you can bring veteran talent with you, and they can help you get that first deal under your belt, get some money in your pocket, and get some experience and move forward. So any opportunity to get to a kitchen table, just know you can lean back into your market center and ask for veteran help. And obviously, to Jen's point, ask your OP, ask your TL, your PC, anybody in leadership, who could I lean into for help in this particular town? They're going to have some talent, and people are always willing to help, because everybody has been sitting where you feel you are right now and is willing to help move forward.
And I'm going to answer Jade's question here. She said, if you're so new you don't have fluff to add, should we just pass on the pre-listing packet? And I say no. I say we have a pre-listing packet for you that has the fluff. Keller Williams is fluff enough, guys. We have the stats, we have the numbers, we have the experience that you need to send along with your pre-listing packet. And all it does is set you aside from everybody else. We're going to talk about value proposition and how you're going to set yourself apart from other agents. This is part of it. Most agents don't send that pre-listing packet. And so when they don't and somebody does, how does that look to a seller? The seller says, wait, this agent sent me something, and do you have anything? So set yourself apart. Send these pre-listing packages for sure. Use the materials and tools that we have for you to use. Does that answer your question, Jade? And then do you also ask if it's appropriate to ask another agent to shadow their listing presentation? Yes. Again, Keller Williams are agents built by agents. This company was agents built by agents. And I'm not saying that right, but you guys know what I mean. And we want to share and help. That's our goal, and that's our model here. So absolutely shadow on listing presentations.
Built by agents for agents is what
Thank
you were
you.
looking for.
It was not coming out no matter how I said it 3
point.
times.
To Bobby's point as well, if I'm just off the bus, brand new 8th grader at Keller Williams University, I'm going to lean into my market center stats. And if I need to, I'm going to lean into our national stats. You're always going to just borrow the numbers that are still your truth because you're part of the team until you build your own. Because if I'm on a team, I'm going to take my team stats inside the market center stats, inside the nation stats. And then you start to build your own metrics, and you can start the numbers start to lean in your favor because it's really your story. Until then, you're borrowing the story of the market center that you joined. And that's still truthful because you're part of this team. So you've got to look at it that way. You're not walking to a kitchen table with 0.0 stats. You've got stats. Make sure you read your broker metrics to find those.
Okay, yeah, we're getting a lot of questions of where do you find those stats? And if you're brand new to your market center, go talk to your team leader. Your team leader has the ability to pull broker metrics for you and show you what your market share is for your areas, and they could break it down for you specifically for the area that you're marketing to. So go talk to your team leader for their local broker metrics stats. All right.
The other thing that I want to talk about is when you're new, right? It's going to be you're going to be nervous going in on these appointments because this is something that's new. So I strongly suggest taking someone with you who's seasoned, who can help you process as much as you can do from a standpoint of shadowing, which I know sounds good, but it's not as easy, right? Not all agents want someone shadowing them. You've got to find someone who's seasoned, who can go in there. I know you're not going to be talking if you're shadowing, but if an agent is relatively new as well, they're probably not going to want someone hanging on them. So pick someone who you respect and understand that if you went on 3 different shadow listing appointments, you're going to have 3 different experiences, which is pretty amazing because your presentation will end up being parts of different other people that you've heard, scripts, and that's cool. And then you kind of make it your own. There are things that I love that. I'm using that, right? For example, when I show up for an appointment and I say, I'll say, hey, good morning. I'm Connor Dow with Keller Williams Realty. We have a 3 o'clock appointment. It's 3 o'clock. I heard that. I loved it because what you're doing is you're telling the client, we have a 3 o'clock appointment and I'm on time. So that's important. So that was something I heard. I think it was maybe in bold. So I'm constantly pulling stuff in that I like, and that's what you do when you go on those listing presentations with other people. Is you kind of hear how they talk and things they say, and you're like, oh, wow, I really like how that sounds. Keep in mind, set realistic expectations. Your first presentation is going to look a certain way. Your third presentation is going to be better than your first. Your fifth presentation is going to be better than your third, and so on and so forth. So as you go through this process, you will become more seasoned, you will become more calm, you will become more yourself, and keep that in mind. So when I go on presentations now, people say, well, what's your set presentation? I honestly don't have one. I know what questions I want to ask. I know where I want to get to. I'm going to ask a lot of different questions as we go through, and based on their answers, I'm going to go down different roads. So I'm not saying that's the right way. From a training perspective, you need to have some sort of plan. You can't go in and wing it right now. And Tim's right. If you don't have experience, you're going to lean on the market center. You're going to talk about KW, the office, the support that you have, your energy, your drive, what you bring. And keep in mind, there's one thing you remember today. Everybody started new. I started new in 1999. I had no idea what I was doing. So keep that in mind. And there are a lot of agents that have been in the business 3 years and 5 years, or exactly where you were, who are killing it and crushing it. So take it, go with the flow, take a deep breath. This business, the presentation piece, is all about relationships and understanding people, asking questions, coming from contribution, and trying to help them. So keep that in mind. Make sense?
I'm going to answer Eric's question in the chat, Connor, if you don't mind. So Eric, absolutely safe place here, by the way. So you guys could ask any questions, and it's a resource for you guys and a networking area for you guys to network with. Your question is compensation for somebody who you're going to tag along with or ask some questions. Please go talk to your market center about a mentor program or what that looks like. I know most of our market centers in New England have some sort of mentor program where the mentor will get compensated off of your growth, meaning that you're going to be asking them for a lot of assistance for the day-to-day life of a realtor. So helping with open houses, like how do you do forms? How do you do the tasks of the day-to-day? And that mentor will be compensated by your sales. Now, I don't know every policy and procedure for every market center yet. I do believe most of our market centers have a mentor program or productivity program that includes that assistance of somebody else in the field. So please talk to your market center leadership because they will let you know. And here's the other thing. Like Connor is, been with Keller. He started the Keller Williams in Newport, Rhode Island back in 2006, Connor?
Yes.
2006, and he still brings people along with him on listing presentations, and he does not expect any compensation. He knows that it's a growth opportunity, and the more business you could do, the more we all could do. It's about market share. So it's not always about taking up somebody's time. It's really about, they know that they've been in that seat before and they're looking to help you out. So those are my two things I wanted to answer for Eric. If you have any other questions, Eric, feel free to message me separately, and I could help connect you with your market center as well.
And like I said, as far as who you ask to shadow, I would focus on people that have some experience that you respect, and ALC members is probably a good place to start. Because those are people that have already raised their hand in the market center and say, listen, I'm all in and I'm here to help. So, and I think that would be extremely helpful. I want to go back to the difference between, just so you guys understand, a one-step and a two-step process, okay? So the one step is what you see here. You know, you're kind of asking them questions on the phone, the pre-listing questionnaire, you schedule the appointment. Okay, I'm meeting with them next Monday. I may send a pre-listing packet in the mail or drop something off today because I'm meeting with them on Monday. I'm going to create my listing presentation between now and Monday. I'm going to look at comps. We're going to put everything together, all that stuff. And then on Monday, I'm going to go with everything. I'm going to come ready to go with a marketing plan, with, you know, everything, with my CMA. I'm ready to sit down with them. I've got listing paperwork. I'm ready to go. Like I've got, because I've already asked, I kind of know. If I really asked that pre-listing questionnaire and I've filled everything out, I know exactly what's going on with them, and ask them what their goals are and everything. So that's a one-step process. That's not how I do it. I do a two-step process, which is I will take the call, or, you know, set the appointment at the same time. So let's say Monday at 2 o'clock. I will start to get ready for that appointment, meaning, you know, in terms of looking at some comps, trying to get as much information on their house, all that kind of stuff. And I will meet with them Monday, 2 o'clock. I will start with that's the script I start with. Good morning, Jen. Connor Dowd, Keller Williams Realty. We have a 3 o'clock appointment. It's 3 o'clock. Boom. Go through. Then I will ask to do a walkthrough of the house. I know Bold teaches you different things, where I sit down at the kitchen table and fill out this form. I'm going to walk through the house. You guys can do whatever you want. Like I said, I'm just telling you what I do. I will ask them, I say, before we sit down, can you give me a quick tour of the house? Always bring something to write with. So I have my leather binder. I usually bring a copy of the tax records for them. And on the back of it, I'll start to make notes. So I'll ask them, I'll write down things that they're saying. I'll make points. I'll ask them questions. Is the fireplace, is that wood burning? You know, I'll just ask them all these questions. I also ask them, tell me what you've done to the house since you've owned it. What I'm doing is I'm trying to learn about the house, and I'm trying to establish rapport with them. By asking questions and writing things down, it shows that you care. Do not walk through a home without writing things down, even if you're never going to use that information. I actually do pull back from that information later when I actually go to do a write-up, because I'll ask them questions. What do you like most about the house? You know, what do you like most about the neighborhood? All that kind of stuff. So we're kind of walking through, you know, that process. I'm asking them age of the roof, age of the boiler, all that. You know, I am just acting as a sponge throughout that process. So then we'll sit down, and I said, you know, do you have a few minutes? Can we sit down and chat? And of course they say yes. And I said, where would you feel most comfortable? Because I'm in their house. I'm asking, these are some of the scripts I use. Where do you feel most comfortable? And they say, why don't we sit at the kitchen table? Okay. Where would you like me to sit? Oh, sit right here. So then I'll sit down and I'll kind of go through a lot of the questions that I have. Some of them would have been covered on the pre-listing questionnaire. Some of them I already asked, right? I already know the questions I want. They're already embedded in my brain. So if someone calls me right after this meeting and says, I'm looking to list my house, I'll immediately go into the questions that I need to know right off the bat. So some of them I've already probably asked them, because I asked them when I was on the phone with them before I set the appointment, in terms of maybe where they're going, what their time frame is, all that kind of stuff. So I will sit down with them, and I'm gathering as much information as I can on that appointment, that I'm just sitting down with them. I'm not really talking about myself. I'm really talking with them about their situation and what's going on with them. So once I gather all that information, I'm going to then go back to the office and drop an analysis and then either sit down with them one more time or email that to them and then follow up with a phone call. To me, I'm in the Newport area here, Rhode Island. All these houses are different. So I'm not going into these townhouses where, you know, they're all the same. Maybe someone's done a kitchen or this. Sometimes I walk in these houses, I think I know what I'm walking into, and I'm completely surprised. So you've got to be careful. And then I will sit down again with them, and then I'll go for the close with the listing paperwork and all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to tell you that so you guys understand when I say 1-step, 2-step, what that process looks like. And there are agents that do very well with the 1-step, and there are agents that do very well with the 2-step. The reason why I do the 2-step is, one, I want to make sure the pricing is correct, because if I'm walking a 1-step process with a price and everything set up, even though I haven't seen the house, well, I feel like I have to adjust, because what happens if I walk in and the house is absolutely beautiful, but it's not that great on the outside? I didn't realize that, or the opposite. And then I've got something printed that's got a price and I've got to backpedal either way. I feel it's awkward for me. So I feel like the 2-step makes my pricing more accurate. And I feel the 2-step allows me to establish rapport better, because it's given me two opportunities, 2 times typically. It's given me that first time when I did the first walkthrough, and it's given me the second time. The second time, we feel like we know each other because we've already met, we've spent an hour together. So that's what I like, as opposed to having to come in one shot. You know, I've got half an hour to an hour to sell myself. That's it. And I better have been right on the pricing. I better know exactly what I'm getting into with that house, because I'm coming in with a hard number, and I don't really like changing it. So does that make sense? Any questions on that, Chad? I don't know if that, I wanted to have them understand what the difference between what the 1-step and the 2-step.
Connor, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Thank you so much for this, by the way. It's so helpful. You are going to that first appointment and bringing a CMA with you. Do you have on that like a price range that you thought you might recommend, and then you say, I'm going to go back to the office and reevaluate and present you with the price I think you could fetch for this home?
You're going to have to, because if you're going to go in for a 1-step, that range, you're going to have some wiggle room, unless they've sent you pictures and really giving you all the information. We all know, for those of you guys that have been on listing appointments, it's not always what it seems it's going to be. So, and with old historic homes, and, you know, so I think if you're going to go 1-step, you've really got to feel comfortable with the range that you're going to go in, and then say that you can fine tune it. One thing that I kind of use, it's hard because a lot of agents, whether they go a 1-step or 2-step, give ranges to sellers as it relates to, this is where I think we should list your home. And then, you know, I come in and I give them my number, and then my number may be a little lower than what someone else said. And it's hard because there are a lot of agents out there give very wishy-washy round numbers, where they give ranges, and some of them are pretty wide ranges. And then the question I always ask, well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, did you ask them what you should list it for, or where they think it's going to sell for? Because those can be 2 different numbers, right? If I'm coming in saying we should list it $395, and I feel like we can fetch somewhere between $375 and maybe $390, $395, depending on what's going on with the market. And you've got another agent that says, oh, I think we should list around $415. Well, the seller kind of naturally locks in on that higher number. But I always say to them, like, is that we can talk about the psychology of pricing and the difference between a $400,000 number and a $300,000 number. However, there are agents out there that will highball the listing price, but the seller never really asks them, where do you think it's going to sell? So why are we going to list it at $415 if you think it's going to list at $380? That's something in terms of that we go through, that I spend a lot of time. If I know I'm competing with someone or another agent, I don't care who it is, then I will make sure I am talking with them about how things go in terms of pricing and other opinions that they're going to get. So we can talk about that as we move forward. But I don't know. So the answer to your question is, if you're going to go in on one step, you have to give some sort of a range. And yes, I think if all of a sudden you feel like you're not as comfortable with that, pinpointing a solid number, then you can say, listen, I'm going to go back to the office, and because it's the first time I've been here. So that's certainly something you can do.
So Connor, when I was doing listing presentations, and I don't really do listing presentations anymore as an operating principal or working with the region. So when I did go out on listing presentations, I probably 95% of the time did a one step. And the only way I got around what Connor's talking about was having a range. And I would have a range from, let's say, 300 to 375. And underneath that recommended price range, I would put subject to walkthrough of property of broker or agent. Price may vary. Price may be different after walking through, and it could go either way. So I always kind of put a little note underneath my range of, this is the value range prior to me viewing the home. So that was one way that I got around having a one step. But I do recommend, if you have the ability to do a two step, I recommend them. You again set yourself aside from other agents. You are going to be able to provide different value and show your professionalism by having your two steps. But again, if you could only do one, do the one, and I would have a range and then a note saying that this value was established prior to you viewing the home.
Keep in mind, guys, this is a good thing. I know this may, to some of you guys, may be like, what do I do? Am I doing a one step, a two step? But Jen did a one step most of the time. Connor's doing two steps. What do we do? Well, understand that you can do whatever you want to do. So I think you should be able to do both, because sometimes you only have one shot, right? Sometimes they want to make a decision and you only have one opportunity. So you need to be prepared to be able to do a one step. The downside of the two step is it takes more time. So, because you got to set 2 appointments, you got to coordinate with their schedules. So, you could miss the pricing, but you can back your way out with some sort of a range. So, just keep that in mind. But this is all good information from a standpoint, just like going on multiple listing presentations with different agents. You learn different ways that agents do business, different ways agents say things, different ways agents approach things. And there's not one set way that's going to make you successful in this. I truly believe, part of it's your personality. There's some things that I know agents say, I could never say that, right? And there's and other agents say, I could say that. So some things you have to kind of get over. So we'll talk about that, but keep that.
I have a couple of questions in the chat that I'm gonna help out with. So Al, what I would put in there is a price range of a recommended price range, and then below that I would asterisk it, and I would say, what did I say? See, now that I already forgot, I would put something like listing recommendation was done prior to me viewing the property, subject to change, basically. And it wasn't that exactly, but you could probably pick out what you want to from that. It is basically, this price range was completed prior to me viewing the property, subject to change. Okay. And then also, Linda asked about, and Connor, you might have to answer this one because I'm not familiar with MLS PIN. She says that she has a question about a CMA from MLS PIN. And Linda, this might be an offline question, but shoot, and we'll see what we could do. If not, we'll take it offline. What's your question, Linda?
Oh, okay.
Oh, you are on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, the MLS PIN, it's just where we can, in Massachusetts, log in to see all the listings. And it has a tool in it that's called Cloud CMA, where you can put in the address of the subject property, and it'll display for you what's currently on the market, what's pending, what has sold within a certain time frame. And I was just wondering if anyone has had any experience with the reliability of those numbers and what to use to adjust, subject properties.
Can I jump in on this?
Sure.
Jen?
Oh, hi, Lorna.
Hi, Linda. So I would say A, come to our Cloud CMA class in the office, but B, what I find with Cloud CMA is and I feel strongly about this, you will be able to tell, but when we're doing a market analysis, we're never letting the computer pick the property.
Right.
We should know the properties. So doing like the quick and dirty on Cloud CMA, in my opinion, is dangerous because it's basically using Zillow to let them make the decision. And so they're hiring us as the professionals to know the market, know the properties. And I find that sometimes when you use that like quick and dirty and let them choose, it's like in other states sometimes, depending on where, how many miles you use.
Right.
So you should be putting those listings that you think are most comparable to the subject property.
Okay.
You can use the public record that Cloud CMA gives you as, hopefully a reliable tool because it's coming from the town. So you do always, in my opinion, want to make sure that you are doing the research, knowing the properties, and you inputting the MLS numbers into Cloud CMA.
Okay, that's exactly what I needed to hear because I wasn't comfortable with what was coming back. So,
Yeah, no quick and dirty. Do not use quick and dirty on Cloud CMA.
Okay.
Awesome
Great.
input, Lorna. Thank you so much. And Lorna is one of our coaches, so she'll be chiming in as well as we're going along. So Connor, keep going.
Okay. So any other, I think we're good on the kind of understanding the one step and the two step process. Jen, what slide are we on now? We're moving to before the appointment.
So I took the share screen off just so that way we could kind of see each other and talk a little bit. But if you want me to go back on, I can. We were on just the pre-listing goals.
Okay. So the goal for, the pre-listing goals, state your value. You're doing a lot of pre-selling and you're trying to save time. That's where I think this whole one-step process came in is you could spend an hour and a half, 2 hours with someone talking about your value, the company, why you're so awesome, how you're going to sell this house in 2 weeks, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of that, that pre-listing packet was to give them information so that you can really get to the nitty gritty when you're sitting down with them, which is about what's a property worth and why, and let me go over exactly what I do to sell my listings.
So in that pre-listing packet, just to kind of go off what Connor's saying, is your goal there, and by the way, you guys had asked a couple of times, it's in the toolkit. So you could find this pre-listing packet right in our toolkit right here in Ignite. So when you go in there, your biggest thing is to state your value. Now, a lot of us didn't start out in real estate, or maybe some of you did, like I did, at a young age. Most of us have transferable skills from another career that you came from. State your value and use those transferable skills. Do you know what I mean by transferable skills?
Yes.
Anybody have an example of what a transferable skill could be?
Customer service.
Customer service, absolutely. Bethany, what else?
If you can crunch data, you can take all the numbers and create a table that shows what things did.
Look at that, Bill, right? So data crunching, or for our high Cs, and if you guys haven't taken a DISC class yet, the personality assessment, our high Cs are the analytical people, are the engineer type brain, right? Those are the ones who want to see those stats and those analytics. Go after that. You have that skill, get it done. I love that, Bill. What else?
Qualifying people, just like I did in auto sales for 22 years. Same type of thing with, buying a house, just different product that as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Love that. Anyone else? Any other transferable skills?
Marketing, technology.
In real estate, do we have to know marketing and technology?
Yeah.
That's a huge transferable skill. So make your value proposition or state your value in that pre-listing packet with all of those skills. Don't have the mindset of, well, I'm brand new to this. I don't have any skills. Yes, you do. You have a ton of them. Go and think about what you did previously, even if it was college. What did you do in college? Were you the head of your fraternity? Those are leadership skills right there, guys, right? So think about that and create your value, state your value in that pre-listing packet, because that, again, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, but that again is going to set you apart from the other agents.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Absolutely, Bethany.
In the location that I think it might be more my location, and I'm just not experienced yet. I'm a little over a month in the business, but as a person who purchased a home before and also so far speaking with people, I don't know that there's a large amount of people around this area that realize that there may be more than one realtor that would like to sell their home. So in that situation, if I am meeting with someone for the first time, would you recommend that I even put out a presentation? Because I don't necessarily want it to occur to them that there could be people they should be interviewing to do the best job.
Connor, can you answer that?
I'm trying to understand the question. I guess
Well,
it's hard for a newer agent. I get it. So like when a seller says to me, I'm interviewing other agents, because sometimes I get that information on an appointment, right? They tell me up front that they're interviewing other agents. My script back, I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
Because that'll help you make a decision.
I think that's the part that's not happening. Meaning they're not interviewing other agents. It's not even occurring to them that maybe they should be. So by offering up a listing presentation, I'm maybe giving them that as an idea that they didn't already have when I showed up. Does that make sense? Like they're
so
not.
That's great. Let me see another agent that is going to give you the materials and the experience and the information that I've given you. Because if you're really giving that customer service that you have from your transferable skill that you said, right? You're adding that customer service level and the value that you bring, and you're presenting them with a professional package. If you're giving them a package, you're like, wait a minute, if you're giving me a package, 5 other realtors will give me a package. Guess what? They're not going to. So you're just setting yourself apart for, even if they do think about somebody else, Bethany, they're going to come back to you because nobody's going to give them that experience that you just gave them. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay.
One thing that's kind of coming to me right now is, while I do a 2-step process, I'm thinking maybe I want to incorporate this kind of pre-listing packet no matter what. Right? Something I can send to them that's really professional, that's bound. It's some of the stuff I already give them anyways. I'll be honest with you, since COVID, a lot of the stuff we do is via email, so they don't even print it out. So I'm thinking to myself, could this be something where, yes, I'm meeting with them Monday at 2:00. I plan to do a 2-step process. However, would it be cool if I'm actually sending them something actually printed, bound, that I already have? I realize some of you may not have that, but you can create that. The goal is to have that created so you can print and go to kind of pre-sell myself anyways. So just a thought that even though I do a 2-step, you could, what I'm thinking is, instead of handing it to them at the first appointment, would it be cool if they actually received it in the mail or there, when they come in? Obviously be careful about putting their mailbox, because it's not mail unless it's gone through the mail. But something that's kind of, so just keep that in mind. That's something that I'm thinking about as it relates to kind of setting myself apart a little bit from others.
I'm all about the pre-listing packet, Connor. And here's the thing, right? I'm not just going to put it in the mail. I'm actually going to put it in a UPS package or one of those FedEx packages. Do you know why? Anybody know why I would do something like that?
Looks like it went through the mail.
Well, yes. And
People are more likely to open it.
they're more likely to open it. Who said that?
More exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting, right? When you get something like in an envelope like that, are you like, oh, that's going right in the trash? Or are you like, I need to see what's in there? Right? You guys are all in the same boat that I'm like, let me see that. Even though it was my insurance policy I just got, I still opened it. Wasn't a little excited to see what was inside.
And it keeps it in that envelope. And then when it's on the kitchen table, they know, oh, that's from Keller Williams. That's from Keller Williams.
There you go. That's exactly it. They're less likely to toss it in the trash, and they're going to keep it on their counter, and that's top of mind. I'm a high component or fan of a pre-listing packet, especially if you do it that way. Go ahead, Connor.
The answer to one of those questions is if something has not gone through the mail, you're not supposed to put anything in the mailbox. That was a question on the chat box.
It's actually a federal offense if you put anything in their mailbox. So please, guys, do not put anything in their mailbox. Don't do that.
Good. All right, so questions about that? So to answer your question, I guess I do a pre-listing packet, but I just don't do it pre-listing. I do that, all that information, the marketing, why me, all that kind of stuff. All that goes into my, if I'm meeting with a seller traditionally, kind of I'm thinking pre-COVID, I'm sitting down with them with all my marketing material. It's got my CMA, it's got all my marketing, it's got all the fluff, it's got all the stuff that a lot of it would have filled up in the pre-listing packet. I'm just not giving it before. Now, whether or not they're ever reading it, I have no idea. I really don't know. I think a lot of agents, a lot of new agents will use their presentation as their crux in terms of they'll use that as, to go through the entire presentation. I don't. So if you sat down and shadowed me, I'm not sitting there paging through. I'm going to page through the CMA. We're going to look at stuff on the CMA. I'll do that. But I don't like go page by page and say, on the marketing, here's my photography. Like here, I'm going to be doing a floor plan. Like, okay, these are all the websites we're going to be on. Now, I'm not saying you don't talk about those.
Well, I guess that's kind of because yesterday I had a listing appointment and he already signed, which is great. But we talked about all that. I said the steps that we'd be going through. I said once we get, because he's really nervous about certain things. So we were just talking about the steps. So I did mention the professional photographer and where, it will, putting his house up on the MLS, how I'll be advertising it, so on and so forth. So I guess it's just, it wasn't in paper. I didn't write it down. I didn't hand him anything. We just talked about it verbally. So I'm just trying to process how these things didn't occur to me, that I would be writing this down and presenting it to someone physically. So that's good to.
You also didn't need it because he had already signed. So congratulations on that. There are going to be, I think you need to be prepared for those situations where someone you don't know, I don't know if you know this guy or not, but someone you don't know who says, come in for a presentation. I'd like you to tell me why you, oh, by the way, I've got 2 other appointments behind you, and where you feel like you really need to give them that information. I give them that information. However, I've been doing this so long that I can sit down and have a candid conversation with them, ask them a lot of the questions. I can put questions in their mind, and I feel like I'm good at establishing the rapport, but that comes with time. Yeah. You cannot go into these appointments winging it. So you can't just go in there with your great personality and charisma and think that you're going to necessarily walk out with the listing presentation. That may be part of it. So just keep that in mind as we kind of go through that process. But I think you should have something. But I guess my point is don't rely on that stuff too much. And this goes back to, you need to know who you're presenting to. Very, very important, because the presentations will be different depending on who you are presenting to. If I'm presenting to a husband and a wife, I have to read their personalities. I have to hear what they're telling me. If I'm presenting to a 27-year-old kid, if I'm presenting to an 80-year-old woman, I may be presenting to someone remotely, right? I may not be in front of them. So I have to understand who I'm presenting to. I have to do that mirror and matching. I have to ask the right questions. I have to be careful about my tonality. I have to be careful about how quickly I speak. I have to understand, how long is this presentation going to be? Is it going to be quick? Does the guy keep looking at his watch? Does he just want to know what the bottom line number is, which we get? I don't want to lose the listing because I talk too much. At the same time, I don't want to talk over somebody. I don't want to make assumptions that they know things that I think they do that they don't. So I will ask questions throughout the process as it relates to understanding a little bit more. But that's where I feel like I win on the first presentation, or first appointment, because that's what I'm doing. At that point, I'm walking through, I'm understanding, like, all right, who is this person? How do they want to be presented to? What are their goals? All of that stuff. And then I'm trying to establish that rapport. Some people just love to talk. They just love to talk. And I'll be honest, I'm extremely direct. And I think in my years, I'm getting even more direct and I have less patience. That's why I don't really do well with buyers, because I'm not that hand-holdy, lovey, cuddly, let's go out for coffee after. I don't have time for that. I got 4 kids at home. I got a lot on my plate. That's why I love listings, because part of my script to them is, you know, I'm very straightforward and I'm extremely direct. I'm here for a reason. And I think that's why the selling side is so different than the buying side. The buying side can be, they're both relationship, but the buyer side's like, yeah, take me out and show me houses, where the selling side's, tell me why you're going to get me the most money I can right now in this market. And I feel like I present as kind of a bulldog from a standpoint of, I'm very direct. I'm going to give you my honest opinion. There's no dog and pony show. And by the way, this is an exact script of what I use. I'm extremely direct. I'm not going to sit here and tell you how great I am. There's no dog and pony show. How I present today is exactly how I present, you know, in the middle of the listing, at the end of the listing. And, you know, Bethany, my job is to get you to the closing table with as much money in your pocket, do it in the shortest amount of time with the least hassle to you. I'm not here to be your friend, but I'm here to be friendly and be professional and get the job done. I mean, this is an exact script that I use with a seller. Now, most sellers actually like it because they want someone who's going to take charge. But sometimes I have to, if I get someone who's really chatty and social, sometimes I have to tone it down. I will not have the same conversation with an 80-year-old woman, though. I have to treat her like my mother. I have to be softer. I have to speak slower. I have to really talk about the process. If she wants to talk about the flowers in the front yard, we're going to spend some time talking about the flowers in the front yard. I kind of have to take my patience pill. I have to slow down. I have to, it's not that I don't care. I just have to make it clear that I care. You know what I'm saying? So this is part of that whole process that you guys will get better at when you go through understanding who you're presenting to and try to play to that client so that you can give yourself the best chance to get in front of someone.
The reading the room, I guess, would be the way.
Absolutely. Yeah, like a comedian would. Absolutely.
Yeah, so, you know, this actually brings up.
Every crowd is different.
In the chat, someone put raise your S and lower your D. Again, that goes back to the DISC assessment. How many of you know what the DISC assessment, let me ask the other question. How many of you are not aware of what a DISC assessment is? Please put it in the chat. We're gonna, because the reason I'm asking you to put it in the chat if you're not aware of it is because I want to host a DISC assessment course for the region if it's necessary. A DISC assessment is basically understanding what personality traits you are, your natural abilities and what comes out, and then what somebody else's would be. And for you to learn that as quickly as possible. All right, I see the chat. So you know what? We're gonna do a regional class on a DISC assessment because this is such an important piece of what Connor just said. Mirror and matching and going to the pace of who you're talking to is probably one of the most important pieces for us to learn today. All of the materials we're giving, you guys could learn this. So Gary Keller at MegaCamp, if you guys took MegaCamp, he reiterated that confidence is learned. And what that means is all these materials we're providing with you day after day, you just have to learn them and your confidence will come. But for you to really understand who you're talking to and how to talk to somebody is going to be the gold and the gold nuggets in your business. So what we're going to talk about in the DISC assessment class is what personality is a D. And as you could see, guys, as we're going along, it's a little over an hour into this, and we're going to give you a break shortly. Connor's a high D. Connor's going to go in on a listing appointment, and he's going to tell them, as he said, he's very direct, and he's going to tell you how your property is, right? Now, here's the thing. If I go on a listing presentation, I am a high D, but I don't lead with my high D. I lead with my high I. I want that seller to be friends with me. And I want them to be forever friends with me. I want to be like, hey guys, we buddies? Yeah, on Facebook, you're going to like my stuff, right? I'll like your stuff if you like my stuff. That's me, but that's not Connor, right? So, and then the other one is a S, right? That's more steady, social, doesn't like a lot of change, I need to know if that's that person, because I need to tone down my eye and be a little more passionate or a little more subject to changing of what they're doing. If they're listing their property, they're probably a little scared because they don't like change. So I need to know that. And if they're a high C, like my friend Bill over here is, I need to know, I need to bring the analytics. I need to bring my kitchen bag or my bag with the kitchen sink in it and present as much as I can, including those analytics, and go slow, by the way. So we're going to teach a DISC class. So thank you, Connor, for adding that.
Keep in mind, I am a high D, but I sprinkle with I throughout the presentation. I sprinkle. Sometimes I really have to backpedal a little bit, but I don't want you guys to think that I just go in hard. I go in hard when I need to, but I back up and I will chit chat and we will laugh and we will talk and I will ask questions. And yeah, I always ask where they're from because it's always a nice kind of conversation. And we want to establish rapport and get them talk. So I do ask a lot of those kind of questions as we kind of walk through, but I don't want you guys to think that I'm just going in hard on these things and I have like a robot and I have no feelings. I gave you the example of, when I'm meeting with someone elderly, the D just drops, right? I go in there, I'm like, all right, I've got to be like, I'm going to visit grandma, right? And I've got to be my charming self. So I can turn pretty quickly, depending on who I'm meeting with. And that's kind of what you need to know. And that's what I pick up in the first appointment is, who am I presenting to? Am I presenting to someone who barely has enough time to give me that I have this appointment and they kind of want the nuts and the bolts right off the bat and we're going to kind of get down to business? Or do I have someone that wants to chit chat and they want to spend time talking, and that's fine? Because I don't want to have someone be like, is he done yet? Like, is this over? Like, because I want this to be over. Like, I don't want that. It's kind of like because I will go through the process, and if we have agreement on pricing, I will confirm that. And then I will move on to the next piece, which is marketing. And we'll talk about that in the presentation piece, because if I've got agreement on price or if I've got agreement on all this, it's kind of like robbing a bank. You don't rob the bank and hang out in the front. When you're out, I'm done. I want to move out. So if I've got agreement, I want to get that. I know a lot of agents just keep talking. And it's like, don't keep talking. Even if you have more to get to, like if you feel like you've got agreement and things are working, sometimes you can curb your presentation. So some of my presentations can be 10 or 15 minutes, and some of them can be longer. So you just have to keep that in mind. Anyways, anything else on that? Because I think that is a huge piece of this, is being able to sit across the table from a seller, talk with them about what your value is, why should they list with you, and most importantly, why should they list with you at the price you suggest? Because that's probably the hardest thing. The two hard things that I say are difficult from a presentation standpoint is being able to articulate why should they hire you and not the other two agents that they brought in, and price. Why should they list at the price that you have suggested, based on maybe what the price that they want, maybe based on the price that they need, maybe based on the higher price that maybe another agent gave you. And that's where it comes down to scripts. That's where it comes down to establishing rapport with someone, being articulate, being able to come across in a clear fashion that doesn't have you self-serving in terms of, I just want to grab this listing. So that is key. So Jen, anything else on that? My charger just arrived.
Nope, that is exactly, that's it. So just as a follow-up, I am going to be posting our DISC class, because there is a lot of comments and stuff in the chat section around that. Lorna, I think you teach a DISC course, don't you, in your market center? Oh, I think we lost Lorna, but
sorry, I didn't mean to do that with my picture. I meant to turn on off mute. I have in the past, for sure, and I know we actually have someone named Heather Murphy who does it, but I'd be happy to co-teach that with you.
Awesome.
Via Zoom. So I think it's a great class and a great way to understand because we use that language a lot.
Yes, we do. And so what will happen is during this, you have to pre-register and take the assessment before class. So just know if this is something you're interested in, you have to take the assessment, and then we talk about it right in class, and we go through scenarios. We do case scenarios of when you're sitting with a buyer, a seller, an attorney, and we talk about how you handle those conversations. So I'm looking forward now to teaching that class in the near future. So keep an eye out for it. All right, so let's continue on, Connor, or do you want to take a quick 10-minute break?
You guys want to take a break?
Let's say we need a break, guys. Yeah, I think
Let's take 10 minutes. So come back at 10:30.
10:30. We're going to start back up at 10:30, guys. I'm going to stay on, so if anybody has questions or want to chat with me, I'm going to stay on.
I have a question that it's a very specific, so you can tell me if I handled it correctly. So yesterday was my first real, as I said, we signed with a gentleman. We already did that. And yesterday, he's going to be going into an assisted living home. And so this is a really big deal for him. And he is a retired priest. So he lived in that home with his mother only, who's of course now passed away since 1976. So this is a very big step.
Sure.
So he wants to price it for the sentimental value that it has. And so we're talking about price. And he wants to be about, I'd say about 15,000 above what I think we should list it at.
Bethany, I have a great line I'm gonna give you, and it works every time for me. Every time I went on a listing presentation, and it's a simple one. And I might have to say it again after this break, but it's a really it's one that really has saved my listing presentations most times. It would be unprofessional of me to tell you that the price of X, Y, and Z is market value and I could substantiate it. The reason being, Mr. Seller, is that I completely appreciate the value that you have right here, yet the market does not support that, and here's why. So honestly, Bethany, the big thing is it would be unprofessional of me to tell you that I could get this price for you. What I could tell you is the market supports this price, and here's how.
So what I did was I showed him on the paper, the ones that have sold, I did the CMA, and what I said to him, I said, from a personal standpoint, from a sentimental person, I can completely see why you would like to list it at that, and I understand that value. From a professional standpoint, I am afraid that it would not sell at that price.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, in this market now, I don't know how it is where you are, but I know in Rhode Island there is a little buffer right now that you could kind of test that limit. Yet I would be careful of that. And I would also tell the seller that as well. Say, I would rather list it at the price that I'm recommending and can support and get more for you, rather than listing it at this price and hoping to get that price.
Well, and that's what I said. I said, here's the problem with listing it too high. If we put it at this dollar amount, you potentially walk away without any money because it doesn't sell. If we put it at a lower dollar amount, that's the amount of money that we will get.
Yes, so the conversation I would have it would be similar, but it would just be a little bit different. It would be, again, it would be unprofessionally. And here, let me tell you why. If I miss the mark for you and list your property at the price that you have recommended, and I don't obtain the buyers that you're looking for right now, that means your property is potentially going to sit on the market a lot longer, which then I end up costing you money. And again, that would be unprofessional of me, because what ends up happening, especially in this market, if we overprice it, wow, we really missed the mark, because we could get a lot more buyers if we price it to the market than against the market. Would that make sense, Mr. Seller? So again, it's just more of same kind of thing that you're doing, but asking a couple more questions and bringing up those kind of things. Like, we have to sell this property a couple of times, right? You guys have heard this one before, right? We have to sell this property to a buyer, and then to who else? Anybody know who's on here? Lorna knows. Who is it?
We have to sell it to the agents and to the appraiser. So not only the
a couple more
buyers, the
times.
other agents and the bank appraiser.
So I think, what is the stat, Lorna? 87% of buyers need financing. So that means that
accurate.
That means that most of the buyers coming in for their property for that property in particular, Bethany, are going to need financing.
Mhm.
And if we're going to list the property at the high mark or the mark that the seller looks at, and the buyer comes in and says, oh, I love it, and I'm going to buy it at what the seller said, they still are subject to an appraisal.
That's a
So
really,
it's
I
great.
didn't even think about that. I have to, we have one more appointment where we're gonna hopefully lock down a number because it was one of those tread lightly. So we left with I said I'd consider what he had to say and I hoped he'd consider what I had to say is kind of where we left it. And we were gonna make a decision next week. So that's a really good point to bring up of the appraiser, because of course I know that and I didn't think to say it.
You know, another one I use in my toolkit of my big bag I bring in, and I only take out what I need to, because my thing is I rather under promise and over deliver than the other way around. So if I needed to bring in another little piece, I would let them know that the longer we sat in the market, the less likely we were going to get the price that they wanted anyway, and the longer and longer it sits. And I would show them that graph. You guys know that graph I'm talking about, the first 4 weeks or when you have the most eyes on the property and then it drops off, right? I would show them that graph and say, listen, I would miss the mark if I had your property on for longer than 4 weeks, because I know that the buyer pool shrinks dramatically. And that means that your price that you're going to obtain for your property is going to be less too. And that would not be fair of me to do that. Again, I put all of it on me, by the way.
Right.
And the other piece too is to use the data, right? So the fact is that, you know, there are houses, people are like, oh, houses are flying off the market if priced correctly. So we have examples in our market of houses that have been on the market, come down, come down, come down, and end up, you know, lower than if they had started, you know, at the market or, you know, a little below or a little above. But you just can't inflate it based on everything that people are telling you. And I think always going back to motivation, Bethany, for me, that's always, you know, I understand, you know, obviously this is your nest egg, you know, I find out what it's so important for that price. And, you know, a lot of times if it's an estate, they need to get it wrapped up. So how long do they want to continue to put it on the market? You know, they just don't want to have it on the market forever. Wouldn't you like to wrap this up by the end of the year and start 2021 fresh?
Yeah.
Hope that helps.
Love that, Lorna. Love it. All right, any other questions or comments, or we have a couple minutes before we get started again?
Jen, can I say something? Sorry. Just thinking about, I know a lot of people were talking about Cloud CMA and how do I know what pricing is? And I think it goes back to that daily 10-4 for everybody. If you are new, your job is to know the market. And lucky for you right now, in each of at least the towns in Massachusetts, there's less than 20 properties across every price point. So you could be previewing, if you're doing your daily 10-4, that's 10 properties a week. In 2 weeks, you're gonna know everything on the market for single family. Maybe then after that, you do condos. But getting in the property, making sure that you are using your app, right? So you can see what's on the market all the time, getting daily updates from MLS. All of my agents who here are new, that's one of the things that we talk about very first thing. Put yourself on a daily update from MLS. Understand what the market is and what new things are coming on. And don't just look and say, oh, 123 Main Street came on at 550. Click on the pictures. Look at the backyard. Look at the description. Does it have a basement? Does it have oil heat, gas heat? Really get to know the properties. And if you're getting updates, make sure you're getting what went under agreement, what sold. That way you're keeping like, oh, I remember when I saw that property. And also, if you're not hosting open houses on the weekends, you should be going to open houses. I really that was what I did. Sundays were my work day. Saturdays would be my day off. But I would be out looking at property if I didn't have my own listing. The only way to get really good at CMAs, and Connor, I'm sure you agree with this, is you need to know the market.
You do. It's you know what, it's key. I'll tell you, because I focus primarily on the listing side and work with very few buyers, it actually works against me because when you're out with buyers, that's your opportunity to go look at other properties. And while they only may buy one of them, they may buy none of them. All of a sudden you spend your Saturday looking at condos in downtown Newport. by Saturday night, you kind of know what's on the market for condos in downtown Newport because you just went through 9 of them. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, you have a listing appointment for a condo, and having those showings that you went on helps you from a standpoint of saying, I know they've got that price on that one, but that house is that condo is a disaster, you know, or it doesn't have any parking or whatever. It looks better in the pictures. So you can pull from that, because when you're going on listing presentations, you don't want to have the seller know more than you do. And there are a lot of very informed sellers out there that know about, they may not know, you know, on the other side of town, but they know what's going on in their neighborhood, and they can tell you that comp that you're about to pull out and use, they know more about that house than you do. Now, sometimes because they're friends with them, they've been in it, I get it, maybe you haven't. However, you have to be able to have a conversation with seller clients who, maybe they don't know much about their neighborhood, but if they do, you need to know that too, because they're going to be throwing things at you. And it's nice, it's great when you can say, yep, no, I was in those 3 houses before. So open houses, broker tour, take advantage when you're out with buyers. I realize things are a little different with COVID in terms of broker opens and all that. You don't get, you know, when that opens back up, guys, you should be on those tours. That's a good Thursday morning or whatever day they're on. That is good time to spend in the trenches, because when you get people that ask you, oh yeah, no, I was in that, that's great house, beautiful kitchen, totally redid it. You're educated. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, and I also agree that, you know, it is a little different with COVID, and they are doing, at least in our area, we are getting in houses again, and making sure you go in, because I love Connor's point of, oh, it looks so different in the pictures. Anybody ever heard that before?
Yeah.
So really making sure that you're getting in, because the smoke smell, the cat smell, the, you know, musty basement smell, you can't see that in pictures. And so being able to talk to that, but somebody said, well, what if we have no experience? The fact is, are you in a market center with other agents? Yes, you all are. You have other people who may have been in that house. So like in our area, if it's in Acton, I might call, there's like 7 agents who specialize in that town. I might call one of them. Were you in that house? I'm using it for a comp, and ask them to tell you about it. You know, we all share, just remember that. I'll be quiet now, Connor.
No, you're great. Awesome information. That's what today's about. Today's not about me. It's not about Jen. It's not about Tim. It's about all of us kind of coming together. And I realize we're throwing a lot at you. The listing side of things, there's a lot to take in. And keep in mind that you're not going to take it all in right now. So just try to take baby steps here. Jen, where are we going from here? The listing presentation, are we doing breakouts? How are we doing this? What's the plan here?
Yeah, so Command is having a little challenges right now. I'm trying to get on so I could show you some of the listing presentation. But if you could just hold tight and talk a little bit through the listing presentation, maybe how you do it. I'm gonna keep working on trying to get Command up.
All right, so part of this is gonna be one thing I love to sit down with sellers and talk about objections. And when I say objections, and it's not always bad objections, right? It's not always, it's just, a lot of times it's questions. Tell me what you think about this. Tell me what you would do here, all that kind of stuff. So I love that. I love sitting across the table from a seller, answering questions, talking with them about my knowledge in the market, and trying to take them down this road to try to get them to the finish line. I love that. Keep in mind, everything I do when I talk with a seller is a script. Like literally everything. And sometimes I say it ad nauseum throughout a day on different appointments, and it's the same thing. I will tell you, no one knows it's a script because it's so embedded and it's so natural that it just flows off my tongue. And that will come with you, right? That will come with time. So when they hit me with a question, it's almost a canned response that I'm repeating back. And I think you need to start to start to work on that, because that's not how it started. And these responses and these objection handlers, it comes down to not only what you say, but how you say it, your confidence, your tonality, your accenting certain words, and being able to be, convey a sense of confidence, not arrogance. I guess there's a difference between confidence and there's a difference between being arrogant. I try to come across as humble. However, I think they want someone who knows what they're doing and can take control, and that will come with time. So the listing presentation for me, remember, I've already met with them. I've already asked all the questions that I think I, need to ask. My first some of my scripts that I kind of sit down with is, for example, with Bethany, I'll say, Bethany, I really appreciate you sitting down with me. I appreciate your time last week going through the house. And I have an analysis here for you. And this is where I kind of start with my setup. I give them a setup. Today we're going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about pricing, what's your property worth and why, and marketing. What do I do to sell my listings? Let's talk about pricing. Bethany, I'm going to start with pricing, because if right now you're probably dying to know what I think your house is worth. So I'm not going to start talking about marketing right now, because you're not going to listen to anything I say, because you're going to be thinking about what is the value of my home. This is a script that I use. So we're going to start with pricing, what's your property worth, and then we'll kind of move into the marketing side. Does that sound good? And then I get there buying. Sure, that's great. Keep in mind, Bethany, my goal is to get you as much money as I can in the shortest amount of time with the least hassle to you. I could come in here with any number I want. Any seller can list their property for any number they want. Whether or not it's going to sell, whether or not it's going to appraise is a whole nother story. So my goal is to try to find a price that I consider to be what I use the term realistically aggressive. I don't want to overprice it. I don't want to underprice it. We're going to talk about what's going on with the current market. I just want you to understand I take this very seriously. And the pricing piece is one of the most important aspects when you're listing your home. What I'm doing here, guys, offline here, I'm setting this up here. I'm setting this up for the conversation we're going to have on price. And that's very important, as opposed to just throwing out a number right off the bat, because I want them to, because then I'm going to read them. Because, by the way, I've already asked some questions about price. I kind of have an idea of what they want, what they need, maybe what they think. Sometimes, on occasion, they don't give me anything. Because on the pre-listing appointment, or the first appointment, some of the questions I ask is, because I'm trying to get that information, but I don't come out and say, Bethany, what do you want for your house? Because you're going to probably say, well, I want to hear what you say first. So I ask kind of more roundabout questions. And I say, Bethany, have you had any recent appraisals done on the property for maybe refinancing, estate purposes, estate planning? If the answer is yes, do you remember what that number was? Do you remember what that report said? And they may or may not give me a number if they remember. The most important question is always to ask, how does that make you feel? Like, how does that number strike you? Does that number strike you as high? The reason is I like to know what my sellers are thinking. It's not necessarily going to change my opinion, but I'll know going into my second appointment whether or not how much work I've got to do here. Because if their price is up here and mine's down here, then I know that I got to roll up my sleeves here. It's not that I'm going to go to their price. I just would like to know that. So I asked them questions about that. So I've kind of already got in my mind, that's a question I ask. Do you have a certain number you're looking to attain with the sale? That's another way to ask it. Sometimes they'll break down and say, listen, Bethany, I always ask my seller clients when I'm meeting with them, is there a number you hope it's worth, and is there a number you think it's worth? Because those can be two different numbers. I hope it's worth 400, but I think you're probably going to tell me it's worth 350. So it kind of gives me a range. Those are part of the questions I'm asking in that first appointment. And sometimes they'll say, well, I want to hear from you first. Totally understand, totally get it. I'm just trying to get an idea of where you're standing from. And by the way, regardless of what you told me, I'm going to come in with my numbers because they're going to be based on real sales, listings, active pendings, all that kind of stuff. So we're kind of going through the process and we're talking about price. You can, another script I'll use is, listen, when I'm looking at value of a property, I'm looking at what's going on with the market, but we're going to look at a couple different things. We're going to look at active listings. What are you competing with? You know, what active listings are you competing with? Pending listing, what's on the market that's currently under contract. The issue with that is you don't know what it's under contract for. You just know what the last list price was. And then the other piece is what is actually sold. And the solds are the most important because that actually shows me exactly what someone paid for a property. Keep in mind, list prices, you know, the properties that are still for sale, those properties haven't sold yet. They're still for sale. I have no idea what they're going to sell for. Could be listed for $425. That's great. But what happens if it sells for $375? Does that change your opinion of what that property might be worth? So the pendings are nice because you kind of know, but that's important because we talk a lot about that in the listing presentation in terms of strategically placing your property. What is currently on the market? What am I competing with? Is there really anything right now on the market in your price point? That may allow me to bump the price a little bit. Maybe that allows me to be a little bit more aggressive. That's something that we're going to talk about. One thing that I also do on my setup is, Bethany, I want you to understand that you and I are in this together. We're on the same team. I want what you want. This is not about me. This is about you. And we're on the same side of the table, looking at the market together, making decisions. I'm here to support you. I'm here to help guide you, but I want you to understand that you are absolutely in control. It's your decision. I'm just here to help guide you and get you to the closing table the best way I can, pulling from my knowledge and experience of the market. By the way, that is a real script that I do all the time. And what I think it does is it softens that relationship between broker and client. Whereas a lot of, it's like, here comes Connor, he's going to tell me everything I'm going to do, and I've got no say. I've kind of erased that by saying, listen, I want what you want, you're in control. So I feel like that puts them at ease, and it also makes them understand that they've got the control, and I'm here to guide them through that process. But that whole script that I just gave you, that 1 minute script, is an exact script I use all the time. And I think it resonates really well with clients because I think they want that. They want to know that they've got some control, but they want someone who's going to help me too. And it's not going to be this, it's the Connor show. You know, he's a strong-willed guy. He's dominant. He's going to come in here and push me around, and he just wants to get this thing to the closing table as quickly as I can. Because I don't want that to be, I don't want that to be what comes across here. Does that make sense on that, from that standpoint? So what I'm doing is I'm setting this up to have them understand kind of the importance of pricing, because this is the hardest part right here. You guys can talk about how great KW is. You can talk about how great you are. You can talk about your energy, your stats, your photographer, your websites. All that stuff is great. You need to talk about that. The hardest part is to having someone, especially when they're talking with other agents, the hardest part is the price piece, because there are so many agents that will try to buy the listing. And I use that as a script. I will say, now, Bethany, let's talk about price. You know, I know you're meeting with some other agents. I'm going to give you my honest opinion, as I told you I would. However, I want to have a conversation. Typically, I do this after the price. Let's go through this, and we're going to say, listen, what I did is I pulled some hops. We're going to look at this right now. Based on the information that I have right now, I am suggesting a list price of $395,000. And we're going to go through the CMA now. I immediately will read them, right? I want to read them in terms of how they feel. Because if they've given me information about where I think they want to be, or they think they are, then I kind of know what I'm in for. But if they were holding close to the vest and saying, listen, I don't really want to give you any of my information, I don't want it to taint that. Let's say you have no idea. I'm immediately going to ask them, how does that strike you? How do you feel about that? And that will start to lead us down into a conversation as it relates to, they may say, sometimes they may say that's kind of right on what I thought it was, or they may say that's high or that's low. So regardless, we're going to kind of go through this, and we're going to look at some of the comps, as Lorna has said, and you're going to either, you know, click through whether you're doing this. It's kind of hard. It's nice when you have a presentation that's online, because you can kind of click through and look at the photos. That's something I don't have, but the iPad presentation, I think if you give them something print that they can take, but have something maybe on a monitor or an iPad that you can kind of toggle through to kind of show them, because sometimes you're really going to have to sell them on this number because their heads may be in the clouds. Laura, do you have something you wanted to say?
I actually didn't by act, but I did mention in the chat, I love that you're talking about the similar things like that sweet spot for pricing and what, you know, really strategic. But also I always talk about in our marketing, it's about the 3 Ps, right? It's about the product, which the seller has control of in terms of staging, and you're going to help them with that and getting that everything clean and ready. And then the promotion, which is us, right? And we're doing the marketing and all the things we're going to do there. And then why that price is so important. And Jen mentioned it on the break with some of the graphs that are really visual. So you've kind of got all your different learners and all your different personalities in conversation, but also in that visual graph of the first 3 weeks and the pricing. And I also love, Connor, that you said this is the most important part, and it takes time. And even to this day, I really take it seriously, and like, I don't want to say stress about it, but I do. It's an important piece to really get that skill and practice. So you should be practicing. And before I'm done, I just want to say, do one on your own property today. Do one over the next couple weeks. Just practice. So that's it. Sorry to interrupt, Connor.
This is the crazy time to be pricing property. I will tell you right now, it is not easy. So that's coming from someone that's got significant experience. It's not easy because, you know, never underestimate what's going on with right now with demand and people's, you don't know who just got burned out on multiple listing, on a multiple listing offer, and it's not easy. So you have to be, you can't just be looking in the rearview mirror. You got to be looking forward. And I know there's always questions, well, will it appraise and all that kind of stuff? That's a whole nother conversation. So as we're kind of going down some scripts that I'm using, that pricing is very psychological, Bethany, in this case. So there are natural price breaks, and typically they're $25,000 to $50,000 price breaks. So $325,000, $350,000, $375,000. But the big price breaks are the $100,000 ones. There is an enormous difference between $395,000 and $409,000. And I mean, I know that there's, a difference of $14,000, which is nothing to sneeze at, but psychologically it is like, it's huge. So we have to have that conversation with them about the psychology of pricing in terms of, listen, you tend to have, that there's two schools of thought. You can either price with some negotiating room, or you can price closer to true value. The problem is if you're pricing with a lot of negotiating room, what good is it, Bethany, to negotiate if you don't have anybody to negotiate with? So that's another key piece. My job is to try to get this. The best chance you have to get the highest number is to price it as close to value as possible and let the market dictate if it's going to go higher than that, because the market will dictate if it's going to go higher. And
can I add what I would say with that?
Yeah.
So one of the pieces, if I'm talking about the price range and we're at like that kind of scenario where it's either $395,000 or $409,000, whatever he just said, I would ask them, when you are looking for properties, what increments do you look in? And what are they going to say mostly? What would you look in? Let me ask you guys, what would you look in? Anyone?
Typically under $100,000 mark or something, $100,000,
$50,000, typically $50,000 price marks, right? So they're looking between $300,000 and $350,000 or $350,000 to $400,000, typically, right? So if they're looking in that price range, what are we missing out on? a whole bunch of buyers that are looking in the 350 to 400, where if we just listed right under that 400 mark, we would have captured a whole lot of other buyers. And I would just let them make that, right? So they would tell me, oh yeah, I look in 50,000 increments when I'm looking for a property to buy. Great. Well, that's exactly why we need to list your property at 395 or 399 or 400, because the other buyers are doing the same thing. And I would hate to lose out on a buyer that could be looking at your property but misses out because we missed the mark just by this much. That's all.
There's also a piece about you've got to have a conversation with the seller about why you feel the value is where it is and why you should price it where it is. And then there's another conversation about making sure you have a conversation with them about other agents buying a listing and coming in and highballing the numbers. So there's two things. So right now we're going to have a conversation about the importance of pricing, the psychology of pricing, and then looking at the comps, talking about what's sold. What's sold 2 months ago for $389 may not be where we want to go. You've also got a property, and that's why you really need to look at these, right? So you may have a property that's sitting at $425 that's a somewhat comparable property, and you're just suggesting $395. Well, I would look at that and say, well, how long has that house been on the market? The house has been on the market 3 weeks. Chances are in this market, if that $425,000 listing is on the market after 3 weeks, it's a price issue. So, and are we pricing it? Are we going to price our house based on that? Or are we going to help use that house to sell this one? And that's the conversation I would have is probably if we come on the market for $395, they're going to adjust down. And if we price at $425, they may hold, or $409. So there is that piece about looking at what else is on the market, what's coming on the market, and having that conversation about getting a jump on competition, having other listings help sell this home. And, the script that I use all the time is that sellers tell me, I am so sick and tired of sellers telling me to get time, right? That's like the worst. Like when we got time. Time is not your friend. And that's a script I use. Time is not your friend, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Now, you haven't been on the market. We've got no history here. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, this is a script I use all the time. There's an absolute correlation between days on market and list to sale ratio. So days on market, how long a property's been on the market, list to sale price ratio, what it listed for and what it sold for. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I don't care what residential market you pick. Show me any property that's sold in a residential market that was contracted in the first days. That property, the list to price sale ratio was very thin because it sold quickly. They probably didn't have to do any price adjustments. So list to price sale ratio was very thin. Conversely, show me any property that was on the market 3 months, 6 months, a year. I can almost guarantee you that the list price sale price ratio was so wide you can drive right through it. So because there are two questions, I'm still in my script, by the way. There are two questions that buyers are asking their agent when they get out of their car. How much is it? And how long has it been on the market? And that answer as to how long has it been on the market, whether it be 2 hours, 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, immediately translates into leverage to the buyer. If it's been on the market 2 hours, 2 days, even 2 weeks, the leverage is with the seller because it hasn't been on the market long. If it's been on the market for 4 months or more, leverage is with the seller or leverage is with the buyer. So what you don't want to do is play that game where I've got time, because before you know it, you look up and you no longer have the leverage. So while we don't need to sell it the first day, we don't want to play this price game and be the Kmart special and keep coming down. That's why pricing it closer to true value, you end up getting more in the long run and it takes less time to sell. That's a real script I use to shut down that whole idea that I've got time, because there are sellers out there that do not have their backs against the wall and do not have to sell right away, but they feel like they can test the market. And while testing the market in a seller's market may be a little bit more okay than in a traditional market, there is still, if you overprice it too much, it will sit. Even in a hot market, there is a point, there is a threshold. So you've got to be real careful about that. But these are conversations that you're having with the seller client. And I think, you know, agents that can sit across the table, roll up their sleeves, and have a professional, real, genuine conversation with their seller clients, come from the right perspective, and be able to answer those questions without coming across rude and arrogant. That's hard because there's so many agents that will sit there and a seller gives them a little bit of pushback, and before you know it, their house is listed for $425, and maybe it's overpriced.
So Connor, I don't mean to interrupt you, and this is all really good information. My command designs are not launching yet. Lorna's is. So we're going to share the screen with you guys now and
Right.
show you where to get your listing presentation right in command through the designs applet. So Lorna is sharing her screen. Is anybody not familiar with command at this point? Please raise your hand or email me because we need to direct you to your tech trainer or market center to help you get into command, because command, I keep saying this, but it's gold. And it's the information. You don't have to create anything, guys. Everything's created for you. This is the great part about Keller Williams. Talk about value. Holy mackerel. Here you go. A listing presentation that is absolutely sexy and ready for you to take out on your appointments. So Lorna, you want to give us a little preview of what that looks like?
Sure. Do you want me to show you how I got here? Everyone, I'm assuming, knows how to get to designs.
Well, let's just give them a hello. You log into agent.kw.com. You put in your KW credentials. You then go to the applets, which are on the left-hand side of your screen, and you will go down to designs. Once you enter into your designs, you will then select print. Is that what you selected, print?
I clicked on the plus button first in the bottom right, and then clicked on print, correct?
Yes. So you clicked on the plus first. You could do it either way. Okay, she clicked on the green plus sign at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. She then clicked on print, and it brought her to this page right here. So this page, you could see that she has a breakdown of KW app, listings, and then so forth. We're gonna go right into listings. And in the listings, you can see that first selection is listing presentation. And here it is.
So 2 different ones that you can use. So I'm going to click on use. And then it will go page by page. And what I love is page 2 has instructions. Let's see, I don't know if I can make that bigger or not. Let me see. Oh, here we go. Hold on. So it tells you some instructions, which I love, on each page. But I'm just, Jen, you want me to just go page, like through each page, not customizing necessarily, but just showing what it looks like? Did I lose Jen? All right, well, that's what I'm going to do. So the next page is where you would be putting in maybe the client's name. So I'm going to make it a little bigger again. So does everybody know how to type in command if I wanted to change their name?
Yeah, so it's as easy as going right over the text and you could type on it. So it's
right.
It's a great platform. There you go.
There we go. Save changes. Just to give you a little idea. So each of the things you will make a change on. So this is like your cover page. Next, and I'm going to keep making it bigger so you can see a little bit. Talks about, you know, your custom marketing plan. You can customize any of these, basically like a table of contents. A little bit about the property that you're taking a peek at right now. Okay, let me see. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. Somebody coming in my house. A little bit about the property. A little bit about the neighborhood. Can you all see that? I'll make it bigger. So our neighborhood updates. Talks so you can add in different pieces about days on market, average list prices, etc. And this one actually has the comparable properties right in it. So again, everybody's going to do something a little bit different. I have my CMA is a separate package. So I may not use this page and I could just take the page out. Talking about how their needs come first, right? It's all about them. I love how Connor said for even today, it's not about him. It's not about Jen. It's about you guys. So same thing for your clients. Talks about the process. So again, being able to talk, I'm like, can you guys, let me know if you guys can see that because I'm trying to make it bigger.
It's definitely a little small, but you know, the reason we're showing you this is just so you know that you have these tools and the toolkits available for you to use. So don't feel nervous that you don't have something to go on a listing presentation today. If you get a call today and somebody says, I want to list my house, it's okay. And you have these things to print out, and call your mentor, call your productivity coach, call your team leader, and they will walk you through all of this with you. You have a market center tech trainer in your market center, most of you do. Call them. They'll get you through this designs and show you the way. Can you change the pictures? Absolutely. You know what, guys, you could change everything about this page and every page going forward. Here's my thing. I would only change what I need to make it custom.
Make it easy, but let me just show you how easy it is. So I've clicked on this picture, changed out the picture. And those are all in here. Those are images that were already in here. So just so you all know how, again, easy this is. So each of the pages has a different thing, talks about where buyers come from. One of the things that I always recommend, and I'm sure that everyone who's, you know, productivity coaching, they always recommend is get this part done. If you had this ready to go, except you had to customize just the home that you're going to, would that make your stress go down a little once you do, you know, once you get that phone call and you get that appointment? Absolutely. So get these kind of ready to go and in your library. And some of it can stay very generic, right? Targeted networking, your media plan. Am I going too slow, Jen? I can't, I'm just trying to go through each of the pages a little bit.
This is great. This is great stuff. I think that, you know, to Lauren's point, I think don't wait for the listing appointment call to try to get all this stuff together. Get all of this, what I like to call fluff, get all of this done now so that you already have, you know exactly what's going on in this presentation. You already have it. You can print it. And the only thing that's really changing from listing presentation to listing presentation is just about the CMA piece, just about the value, the different comps. Like focus on that each time, but know that you've got all this stuff set, ready to go. You hit print. If you need to customize something, then you can, but don't wait, because it's going to be stressful enough when you start to go on your first early appointments in your career. You don't have to worry about all this stuff. This is stuff that they're going to look at, but really you're going to be focusing on the CMA aspect of it.
That's right. So while you're time blocking your schedule right now, and unless you have an appointment, maybe you're taking a half hour each day to work on a few pages and customize and play with. And I know some people say, this is not my thing. Leverage it out. Somebody in your market center may be willing to let you pay them to do it. Like I know agent services, there's market center coordinators, market center tech trainers who also, you know, do things on the side. So depending on your market center, but I think it's good to go through and just understand every single page. And by just looking it all over, you can see. The proof is in the numbers.
Great example, and what the activity is, and we're going to do this in a minute. And I just want to answer a couple of questions in the chat, Lorna, really quickly. Where to print them? If you have a great printer that is good quality, print it from home. If you could do it from your market center, do it from your market center. We all have really great printers. If you could get it done at Staples, get it done at Staples. It's really whatever the quality you're looking for. And, you know, one of the things as new agents, we play that red light, green light game. If you're not aware of or familiar with what that means is when we're new agents, we're not going to spend as much money as Connor would being an experienced agent. I mean, I'm driving down the street and I see a bus with Connor's name on it. That he's, you know, over 20 years in the business and has earned the money and the experience and what he needs to get on that bus. For us as new agents, you don't go on the bus. We don't do the bus.
You probably ride the bus. You probably ride the bus as a new agent.
No. So what I'm saying is you want to save your money and not use as much as you can right now. So if you have a home printer or if you could use your market centers, that's going to be your best cost. By going to Staples, it's going to cost you a little bit more. But if you're going for a higher end listing that you may want to have that higher quality paper for some, whatever the case is, then do that. Just make sure you're keeping aware of, as a new agent, your first 90 days, you don't want to spend a lot of money. You really want to use what you have, and that's your ability to have a conversation with somebody, talk about business, and grow your business.
And I'll jump in, Jen, to say that these 2 pages I stopped on, which is the proof is in my numbers and the credentials page. Again, I know a lot of times I see new agents kind of get stuck on, well, I don't have numbers. This is where we use our market center numbers. And in your business meetings, I am sure that somewhere you guys talk about the lore and the language of real estate and what the numbers are for the market center. Utilize those, the credentials for the market center or for KW International. So you don't need to necessarily have your own numbers at this point. You will someday soon. So use the market center, use Keller Williams International, use our, belief system. You can take out, if you don't have any feature listings, take the pages out. Same with testimonials. I always also encourage my new agents, if you've never had a sale, you have had a past life. Get somebody to write a testimonial about your skill set, about your integrity, about your trustworthiness. Then you can use that as a testimonial. So that's what I wanted to add into that, Jen. And then a little bit about the bottom line. And then again, you finish up by adding your information in. And all of this, I just can't say enough how it's so easy to customize. Any questions about that?
No, thank you for sharing that, Lorna. Absolutely get in there, customize these presentations for yourself. If you're having a hard time saving it, just close down, try it first, save it when you first get in there. And if it's not saving, close it out. Make sure you're logging into an incognito page. If you don't know how to go there, you go to your file up at the top left, and then it says open new incognito mode. That's going to take you into incognito where it won't save your cookies and cache stuff. So you want to make sure that you're opening command in incognito, and that could help you with a lot of glitches that could happen while you're going through command. All right, as we're going through this, we're going to do a little breakout. We're going to have a little fun with this, and a little earlier on, we spoke about your value proposition or what your value is as an agent. So we're going to make sure that you are either on screen or able to talk, because we're going to break out into little groups. And for 15 minutes, I want you with your group to write out what are your values, like what's something that you could create a value proposition for to add into your presentation. So this is part of homework, but we're not going to do it as homework. We're going to do it as a real play. And then when we come back, Connor and I are going to do a role model of a listing presentation. And he's going to be the agent and I'm going to be the seller. And we're going to role model an actual listing presentation. So before that, our activity, just so everybody's aware, we're going to break out into groups. And you're going to write out what your value proposition is or what your values are, transferable skills are. You're going to talk about it with your group. You're going to mastermind around that and come up with what each one of your values are for your clients going forward. When you get a listing presentation, you could say, this is why I'm different from other agents. Any questions on that before I break you out into rooms?
Real quick, I think this is really important because most agents can't state their value. And if there was an elevator speech, a lot of you guys would fumble right through it. I don't mean just you guys, but just agents in general. So that is part of my listing presentation, which I'll go over with Jen, which is especially when I know they're interviewing with other agents, my script to them is say, listen, Lorna, let me be real honest with you. I know you're meeting with other agents. I'm sure they're all great agents. I'm not asking who they are. It doesn't even matter to me. I'm more focused on what I can do to provide for you. But I'm sure they're reputable companies, and I'm sure there is a ton of overlap in terms of what you're hearing. So what I'd like to do is, why don't I tell you why I feel like I'm different? And I'll go into that. So I think that's nice because great company, great photographer, all that stuff. It all sounds the same. So it's nice to be able to break down and say, why am I different? So that's kind of why you think about that. What is my value and why am I different?
And it doesn't have to be anything crazy, guys, right? Just
Yeah.
come up with something simplistic and you know what you have that value for. Think about what you did before you got into real estate, write some things down. Okay, I'm gonna break you out into groups of 5 and don't go away because I promise you, you wanna come back for the listing presentation that Connor and I are going to role play. All right, so when I hit this button, you have to accept a room, okay? So go into a room and we'll see you shortly. Don't forget to accept the room that just got sent over to you. If you're in this main group, it means you did not hit select or enter into a breakout room. Make sure you do that. Go ahead and enter or select enter into a breakout room. Totally understand, Craig. Appreciate you being on. Hey guys, welcome back. We will get started in a minute as everybody starts filtering back in. Make sure you check out the chat section because that has a lot of information in there. And if you're not aware, there are 3 little dots at the bottom of the chat to the right of file. If you click those 3 little dots, you could save that entire chat section to your computer so you could go back and revisit it. Just a little Zoom tip for you guys.
The 3 dots are called the ellipsis. That'll be on a quiz tomorrow.
Won't be on my quiz.
I wish I had known that from the beginning. There were several great chats I wish I had saved.
How do you spell that,
Go
Tim?
back and watch the
Ellipsis?
videos. Sorry, Paul. what
You
was that?
spell it carefully.
Yeah, slowly.
Jen, just to say that usually I've been saving the chats and then I turn them into a PDF. I kind of, because when you do it the way it is, that they're all over the place, I try to line them up. And I put them on a PDF and then I put them up on the Facebook usually when we're done.
Oh, thank you for that.
I don't know if people see that. I usually put like Spark or Ignite, Class 2, whatever, PDF
Yeah.
chat. So that way people go back and reference it on the
Wow.
Facebook page. I don't know if people have seen that.
Marie, you're
Thank you,
amazing.
Marie.
Thank you for doing that. All right, so let me hear, now I was, my room got cut off when I said the key thing is, and then it got cut off, right, guys? But we'll talk about it in a minute. Let me hear some ahas from your rooms that you just experienced. Let's talk a little bit about it. Either put it in the chat or unmute yourself. Come on, I know there are some good ahas out there. I'm going to let it get awkward until we get some chatter going here. We only have a half hour left and we have so much to do in a half hour, by the way. So let's hear some good ahas.
Mine is really just kind of conquering my own limiting beliefs. And we talked about, they just asked me, Colleen and Bethany asked me questions about what I did. And, you know, at one point they said, well, there's your value proposition. That's basically your why. And it's really just talking with, you know, wanting to be with people. And that's what I've done my whole life. That's what my past 2 careers have been. And it's really just, I guess it's just been my own block of really narrowing it down. So.
You know, and that's why we do these groups, is so that way we could help each other pull out what we don't really think we have. I was in a group too where one of the guys said, I can't transfer, I don't have a lot of transferable skills, yet he does. He has a ton actually. All right, so what else? What other ahas do you have? Come on.
Well, I'll add to that. I think that when we were, because I was in with Jen and Colleen, and very lovely ladies, by the way. And it was interesting. I think that though we're in some similar, but also different stages in our career, our what we bring to the table had some similarities. And I would dare say that probably everyone here has some of those same similarities, you know, working with the public. So that's kind of it was an interesting conversation to have.
Thank you for sharing that, Bethany. Great. All right, so here's the task and what you're going, well, what the implementation of what we just did is going to be for you. What I'm going to ask you to do is actually go into your listing presentation and modify what your value is as an agent that is setting yourself apart from another listing agent that could sit down with that seller. So your homework, what your action item is for today, on top of your daily 10-4, by the way, is to what is that simplistic value that you provide to your clients that nobody else will. Okay, does that make sense? Any questions on that? All right, we're all good. So Connor, we have 30 minutes left. Are you good for 30 minutes?
Sure.
All right, so we're gonna take care of 2 sections of our manual here. One is to do a listing presentation, but we're also gonna handle the objection handling piece of this. So we're gonna do a mock listing presentation. I'm gonna be the seller, and I'm gonna throw out quite a few objections that you hear quite often. So I know you could handle them, so don't worry.
For the record, we have not rehearsed this. I have no idea what she's gonna, now, keep in mind, there are only a handful of objections that are out there. So it's not the end of the world. You know what I'm saying? So, but we have not rehearsed this, so I don't know what she's gonna. I don't know what she's.
Nervous. Don't be nervous. We'll be okay. We'll get through it together. All
It may
right.
be difficult.
All right. So Connor, you're gonna show up to my house, and we'll do a little quick walkthrough and stuff. So knock on my door, and let's get going.
I'm gonna knock on your door. Knock, knock, knock.
Hi, Connor.
Hi, Jen. How are you? Great to see you. We have an 11 o'clock appointment, and of course, it's 11 o'clock.
Well, it's 11:30, but thank you for being here on
Oh,
time.
whatever. Anyways, all right. So thanks for having me. Where would you like to sit? Where are you most comfortable?
I have a dining room table. Is that okay?
Yep. Let's go. Why don't we go to the dining room table? All right.
Great.
So we're going to sit down at the dining room table, and I'm going to probably give some of this. Some of it I've already given you. So I'm going to kind of breeze through a little bit. I may add in a couple things, but Jen, I certainly appreciate you having me out today. It was really nice meeting with you last week. I went back to the office. I did have an analysis, and today, as I told you last week, we're going to talk about two main things today. We're going to talk about pricing, what's your property worth and why, and marketing. What do I do to sell my listings, and why do I think I'm the best agent for you? So let's talk about pricing. One thing I want you to understand is that I want what you want. My job is to get you as much money as I can for this house in the shortest amount of time with the least hassle to you. My job is to get you to a closing table under the best terms and do it in as smooth of a possible transaction as I possibly can. As I told you before, I'm very direct, and I'm very honest, and I want you to know there's really no dog and pony show with me. What you see is what you get. And like I said, I'm going to give you my honest opinion about what the property's worth, and I'm going to answer any questions that you have, and then we're going to make a decision on whether or not we want to work together. So does that sound good to you?
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you for coming over last week and providing me with that information. I appreciate it. Can we get right to the price? Because I see that you want to list a house for $400,000, but I really feel like I don't know, 475 in this market is a much better option to go right now.
Well, and I totally understand that. Listen, I meet with sellers every day, and seller clients want as much money as they can get. Now, this property's worth, what a buyer's willing to pay in this market, what a seller's willing to sell it for, and what a bank is willing to appraise it for. So, also keep in mind, we can ask any number you want for this house today. We can absolutely put this on at $475,000, no problem. The issue is going to be whether or not it sells. And that's one thing I want to help you understand on where the market is, the importance of pricing. And it sounds like you want to start higher than what I'm suggesting, and I totally understand that. I meet with a lot of clients that are in the same situation. What I will not do is tell you what you want to hear for the sake of hearing it, and then have you overprice your property and have it sit on the market. There are plenty of agents that will do that. So what I want to do is price the property realistically aggressive that will allow for eyeballs on it on the internet, and that will also, translate into showings, which translates into second showings, and get the property sell. But I will tell you, if we overprice this property, it will sit on the market, and in many cases, it will take longer to sell, and you will get less in the end. Where did that $475,000 number come from?
Well, I appreciate the 400, but I also need to send my kid to college, and I'm also looking to put a little bit in for retirement. So I just wanted that buffer amount, so that way, I felt comfortable being able to have that those proceeds to be able to pay for my kids' college and such.
I totally appreciate that. I totally appreciate your desire for where this money is earmarked to go. Understand that I've got to sell this home twice. Can I explain? I've got to sell first to the buyer, which tends to be the easier one. And the second time, I've got to sell it to the bank appraiser. Now, keep in mind that the way we price properties is we're going to look at active comparables in terms of what you're competing with on the market in your neighborhood, your price point. We're going to look at what's pending, what properties like yours are under contract. Keep in mind, we don't know what they're under contract for. We only know what the last list price was. So you could have a property that's under contract for $425,000, but the last list price was $475,000. And then you've got sold comps, and these are properties that actually closed, that have hard numbers, and I can tell you exactly what they closed for. That is what an appraiser is going to use when they price properties. So even if I'm able to get someone to pay $475,000 for your house, chances are the property's not going to appraise. They're not going to get their loan, which means they won't close. So
Well, Connor, I heard in this market, properties are just flying off the shelves, and it really doesn't matter what price you pick. So why not go for $475,000? And I also heard that appraisals might come in lower, but a buyer will pay them more. So why can't I try for $475,000?
the market is hot. There's no doubt about it. However, it's there is a balance in there, is that there is still the potential of overpricing properties, and that property will sit. So where you really define true value is you price it at a realistically aggressive point. And if the market deems it to go higher, the market will take it there. However, if you're pricing it at $475,000, which I think is exorbitantly high right now, my feeling is you're going to sit on the market, and I don't have comparables to back that up. So that's one thing. So where did that number come from, though, as we talked about? Is that coming from, are you hearing from other agents? I know you're interviewing other agents, or is that a number you just picked at?
I have a friend that's in the Chicago market, and they said just pick a price. So that's what I was doing.
Yeah. Offline, real quick, guys, I typically don't get that much of a gap in terms of 475 to 400 is a big gap. So one of us is off. I will tell you that. Either Jen's off too high or I'm too low. So, you know, I've got comps, assuming I'm feeling comfortable with that. I typically don't have someone that's pushing me as much. I do have pushback. But not someone that's looking to throw it so far over. But you've got to be ready for that. And you've got to be able to express. So that's now we're going to roll. Now I would be rolling up my sleeves, looking at that. Notice how I asked where she got that number from. Another script I'll use is, listen, the market doesn't care what you need those proceeds for. The market only cares about what the property is worth and what a buyer is willing to pay for it. So what a seller needs to get or wants to get doesn't necessarily translate into what is the property worth. So
that's what I wanted us to get to with that.
Yeah. And you notice how do you notice how every objection that she gave me, I acknowledged it. I repeated it. Like she said, I want 475 because I want to send my kid to college and do all that stuff. And I said, I totally appreciate your desire to maximize your return, and you've got things earmarked. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so I'm acknowledging that any of her objections, and then I'm going to go in with that. So
yeah, so just as Marie said in the chat, emotion is a real thing, guys. You have to play with the emotion, or you have to at least acknowledge the emotion. You can't just say that's silly that you think that you're going to get that college money from your house sale. You have to acknowledge that I appreciate that that's something that you are taking into consideration, yet it would be unprofessional of me to tell you that I could support the 475 price range, because the statistics and the comps do not show that. Exactly what Connor said. So, all right, back on script.
I'm also shifting the blame that it's not, it's, you know, I have my opinion, but I'm also giving her the reality of, even if I get someone that's 475, if I can't get this to appraise, chances are this deal's not happening. And by the way, even if it's a cash buyer, a lot of them like to have their own appraisals done to confirm that they're not overpaying, even though they're paying cash. So keep that in mind too.
All right, so we're going to go back on script, and I'm going to hit them with some more objections. So we just talked about a pricing objection. I'm going to now agree with his pricing, but I'm going to throw him a curveball with commission. So here we go on script. All right, Connor. So I could see where you're coming from with your comps, and I'll do the 400,000, but I need you to cut your commission.
Well, I totally appreciate it. Talk to me about where that's coming from. Are you more concerned about the commission you pay, or are you more concerned about what you put in your pocket?
Well, I just feel like I just gave you $75,000 from what I wanted to list it at. So I just don't want another hit out of my pocket. So I feel like you should change your commission because of that.
No, and I appreciate your desire to listen. My goal is to get you as much money as I can in your pocket at closing. And keep in mind, we always know that in life, anywhere, you can always get something for less. And I totally appreciate that. With me, what you're getting is the experience, knowledge. I believe that I'm the one who's going to get you the most money for this house in the shortest amount of time and put as much as I can in your pocket. Keep in mind, if we start cutting the commissions too low, it starts to affect co-broke payments in terms of that, and it's going to affect market time and different things like that. So one thing I don't do is negotiate on my commission. And I understand that you may have agents that are willing to do, but I know my value and I know what I bring to the table and I know what the cost is from that, and understand that you're going to have someone who's got 21 years of experience, who's going to get in the trenches and fight for every dollar. So I understand why you're commission shopping. Keep in mind that if you're going to find someone who's going to be dipping on their commission, they're just showing you how they're negotiating on their own commission. Wait till it comes time for them to negotiate on your behalf in the trenches.
All right, guys, I'm going to break script for a minute. That was a key point right there. You don't have to say the 21 years of experience, right? Because we don't have that yet. What you can say is, if I negotiate with you on the commission right now, how do you think my negotiating skills will be when I have to negotiate with another agent? Right now, my goal is to make the most money for you in the least amount of time is what you desire, what you told me about. So I am going to be focused on netting you that money that you are looking to put in your pocket. So exactly what Connor said, and use that, write that down and use it. You know, the other one he pointed out, which he kind of breezed over really quickly, was the co-broke commission, right? So when we start cutting our commissions, what ends up happening to the co-broke side?
It goes down too.
It goes down too. And will a co-broke come look at your listing if you have one apple that you're offering when the one 2 doors down is offering 3? Now in this market, might be a little different because there aren't as many, there's not as much inventory out there. Yet that is something that you could bring up to your seller, as far as you're giving yourself a disadvantage by offering less.
My script on that is, listen, you know, while there's no standard commission and set commission, there are trends in terms of where you typically see roughly the co-broke commissions. I don't give numbers, but I say if we start dipping below that, I'm going to start losing motivation for buyer's agents to show this, because they're going to want to take their clients and go show other properties where they're getting compensated more. Bethany, they will never admit that, but that's a real thing. Agents look at what their compensation is. And if you don't think they're going to get more motivated by a 3 apple commission as opposed to a 1.5 apple commission, you're crazy. It's human nature. So are they going to advocate more for that listing, the other listing? Maybe. So what it does is, Jen, it's a disservice to you in that I need cooperation from the agents. And by the way, guys, if I'm gonna take a hit on the commission, in many cases, I'll take it on my side, but I'll leave the commission for the co-broke intact. And I know that goes against a lot of what you may see out there, in terms of you sit down at the closing table as a buyer's agent and you're getting less than what a listing agent is. There are times, doesn't happen often, where I will actually compensate more on the buyer side. And if there's a hit that I want to take, it'll be on my side, because I want to make sure that I'm preserving that buyer's agent commission. I want to make sure agents are feeling fair and compensated when they come into my listing. I know it goes against a lot of things, what you see out there, but that's how I run my business. And the agents that are out there in the field, while they're my competition, I need them too. And I want them to be fairly compensated. And I feel like it can really actually hurt the seller, as we talked about.
There's a couple of questions in the chat that I wanted to mention. Then we're going to really quickly finish this role play with one more objection, and then a close, and then we're going to take some ahas before we finish out right before 12 o'clock today. So Cheryl asks, what if they wait until you present them with an offer and then suggest that you kick some of your commission back?
That's when you pretend like you have a hearing problem and just didn't hear it. I will tell you, the commission piece does come up on tight negotiations. And my piece of advice is, I'm a big picture guy. I'm also, I know what I need to do to get to the closing table. I don't want to pass up a $10,000 deal for a $250 concession. I will make that decision. You have to make, sometimes it's sharing with the other agent, right? If there's a $500 or $1,000 and we're at a crossroads and we can't figure this out, that's something that you can make a decision. My only advice is, it's a business decision you make. Everybody's got different opinions on it. I know there's some agents that say, I never make a concession. And you know what, maybe that's true, but I know sometimes we got to do what we got to do to get things done within reason. What I will say is, if you're going to make a commission concession, hear me very clearly. If you are going to make a commission concession, only make it if it finalizes the deal and gets you to the closing table. So you find out what the gap is, and if your concession, whether it's on your own or with the other agent, make sure that that closes the gap. Because if it doesn't close the gap and you offer that too early in a negotiation, meaning the seller comes to you and says, I want you to cut your commission. If there's still money out there, if there's still a gap out there, chances are they're going to come back to you again to close it later. So make sure that that's the final piece that gets you to the closing table. For example, if you're a $1,000 standoff and you've been there and it's a good commission and you got the buyer's agent, you're the listing agent, whatever, you may go to the buyer's agent and say, listen, my seller's not moving. And she's saying, well, my buyer's not moving. We're $1,000 here. Like, do you want to split this to get this done? Or if they ask you to get this done, just make sure that that concession gets it done, is my point. If it comes up too early in the negotiation, I guarantee you, you gave it up once, they're going to come back to you again to give it up again. That makes sense?
Yes, and Connor, we are running out of time, so I'm going to close us up. And then I'm going to, since we didn't finish on a couple of the objections, like I want to wait to list, like I have other agents to interview before I make a selection, things like that. What I'm going to offer is a role play script off. So I'm going to host a script off outside of this, and it's going to be Monday at 1 p.m. So if you want to be included in this little script off that we're going to handle the rest of these objections and the rest of this kind of conversation, throw your email in the chat and I will send you the link for 1 o'clock on Monday, the script off, where you could throw me a script and I will role play it, and I'll do a script off with you guys. So if you're interested in that, 1 o'clock on Monday, I'm not recording it. This is not going to be recorded, so you have to be there live if you can make it. And all right, let's close up. Connor, what are your final words for today?
Practice. You know, you can do all the script offs you want. You can do all the preparation you want in terms of just like getting your everything ready in terms for your presentation. Practice is key, and no matter how great you think some of my scripts are, if I asked you to repeat those right now, it would not be pretty because you don't know them. You haven't internalized them. You haven't practiced them. That comes with time. So don't wait to get ready for your listing presentations. Start practicing on family, friends, pick a subject property, sit down with a colleague. The script practice is something that most agents fall down on. But if you start going through some of the script practicing with some agents in the office, it will prepare you better. So when you actually go on the presentations, that you're not like thinking in your head like, oh my God, I'm not good at, like, I don't even know what I'm saying right now. Like, you don't want to do that. So the practice piece is big.
Awesome, thank you. And Tim or Lorna or any other coach on, anything you want to add before I'm going to take some ahas? All right, guys, did you feel that today was helpful to you? Put some ahas in the chat or unmute yourself. Tim, I saw you come back on. Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I was just going to say, in our breakout room, I touched upon the fact that ready is a lie. And I know, Connor's talking about making sure that we're practicing. Diana Kokoska would always say, your clients aren't cadavers. Use your family and friends for that, right? If we're going to use the medical school analogy. Ready is a lie. Your website's never going to be done. Your business cards are never going to be exactly how you wanted them, and we're never going to have all the answers. We are who we are as a company because Gary fails forward every day. So preparing yourself to get to your first kitchen table, your next kitchen table, that $1 million kitchen table, it's a process, to Connor's point, of grabbing your friend's property. And a simple script like, hey, Ted, it's Tim. I trust you well. I was looking at properties in and around Woonsocket, and I spent some time on your street and actually have some great numbers in reference to your home. I was wondering if you had time tomorrow at 4 or Friday at 5, a quick Zoom call. I'd love to bring you up to speed on where you stand in the market right now. And if they'd be willing to have that conversation with you and they're a good friend and you get to take an at bat without shedding any blood, and they're going to be happy and they're going to feel cared for, that you took time to let them know where they stand in the market. And you might get something out of it. It might be a refi, it might be a sell, or it might be a, hey, maybe next year. It's well worth it. But ready is a lie for sure. We're never going to be ready to conquer the world. We have to do it systematically, one transaction at a time, one family at a time, one conversation at a time.
Hey, Jen, one thing I was told
Yes.
is if you want to succeed at something new, you have to be brave enough to fail.
I hope you guys wrote that down. Can you say it one more time, Bill?
If you want to succeed at something new, you have to be brave enough to fail, because you're not going to get it the first time.
Listen,
You can get close, but you're always going to get better as you go.
You're absolutely right. And I'm telling you guys, Tim, Connor, myself, and any other coach that's on here, we have been in your seat. So if you think you're the first one to be new in real estate and not know how to say a script right, or talk to a client, or make a phone call, we have all been there, and we're here to assist you get through that. Because when you get on the other side of it and your confidence starts getting learned, what I mean by that is you start being more confident because of the experience you gain. It changes your business, it changes your life, and it changes opportunities that head your way. I am a poster child for the opportunity map for Keller Williams. I am taking advantage of the opportunities that Keller Williams offers, and I want you guys to as well. You have so many resources, so many toolkits and tools and materials and people for resources that you could lean on, and we're all here for you. We want you to be successful. If you feel like you're struggling in any way to get launched, to get ignited, to have that script, to pick up that phone, please reach out to any one of the coaches that has taught Ignite, myself, anytime, because we are really invested in your growth. And we hope you are as well, because the more you grow, we grow as a region, we get market share, and we keep dominating. And we are the #1 real estate company because of the people we have here, and that's you. So thank you for being a part of Ignite, for being a part of Keller Williams, and please use us as resources. I hope you found today helpful. It was a lot of fun being on here with you the entire day, or the entire morning anyway. And I hope we see you tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. If you have any questions, I'm going to be on for the next 4 minutes or so.
Thank you, Connor. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thanks, Connor. Good stuff, man.
You're welcome. Yeah, if you guys, if you guys need, I'll put my number in the chat box. If you guys ever want an out-of-market opinion or someone outside your market center, I'm happy to help. Bounce something, you're having a rough run-in with a seller, I'm always available, happy to help. I firmly believe that people that are in the business and that have experience need to give back to the newer agents, because guess what? In 20 years, I may be out of the business by then, but maybe you'll remember me and you give back to somebody else down the road. So I'll put that in the chat box right now.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Colin.
thank you.
Thank you for all your stuff today. Thank you.
Thank you. I also printed up the script book today, 60 pages. I print up all my lessons. It's 60-something pages.
Marie, highlight the ones that resonate with you and just master those. Master the ones that really resonate with you in that book. And don't read all of them. Read the ones that resonate with you and master them.
I have to go through them anyways and pick what I like. So, got to read the book anyways.
That's right. All right, guys, we will see you tomorrow morning. Thank you so much. It's been a fun morning.
Thank you all.
Connor has contact information there. And don't forget, Monday at 1 o'clock, I will be on Zoom to do a script off with you guys to handle some objections that we didn't get over to, that we didn't finish today. We will finish
Thanks,
those on
Jen.
Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jen, I'm sorry, can I ask you a quick question?
Absolutely. That's why I stayed on.
Oh, great. I have a buyer. They want to know how much money they should have in their bank in order to move forward with the home buying process.
Sure. Are they pre-qualified?
They're going through the lender currently.
Okay, so their lender is going to ask them a ton of questions, and that's one of them. So it depends on what program that they're going with. If they're first-time home buyers, what state are you in?
I'm Massachusetts.
You're Massachusetts. They have different first-time home buyer programs, and you want the lender to let them know what their qualifications are for how much money they should have in the bank and what loan program they qualify for. Because it could be a 100% financed program, or it could be a 3.5% FHA. It really depends on what their qualifications for. You know, they might be a VA. If they're a veteran and they have a VA capability, they, you know, that changes as well. So I can't give you one specific answer, but I could tell you to talk to your lender, and your lender will absolutely have those answers for your buyers.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I recommend that you really form relationships with your lenders closely. Like you could call that lender up and they will answer the phone. Make sure you have that lender available.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. I got one more minute. Any other questions before I jump off? All right, guys, I'm closing up shop here, so have a great day.
Thank you.